Chapter 1308, Reverberating Through Flame City. Who's this kid? How can he wear such luxurious clothes at such a young age? They seem to be made from gold. I wonder which large clan he comes from. Gold is extremely heavy, but the boy's clothes look soft, just like cloth. However, it shines even brighter than gold. You can tell that it's made from something extremely valuable with just a glance. This body is really cute. He's white and chubby and his large eyes are filled with brightness. He really does make people want to spoil him. I want to have a child as cute as him in the future. The people on the street became fixated on him and their discussions shifted to him as the topic. The boy in golden clothes was as attention-catching as fireworks. That was how unique and dazzling he seemed. There were even quite a few people who went up to the boy to ask him about things. They asked for his name while some people directly asked him about his background. There were even some people had started fawning over him, asking about his well-being. They all believed that the boy belonged to an important clan, so once they got on good terms with him, they could even gain success and rise through the ranks. There were various people among them. Not only were there members of the Flame Mercenaries, there were mercenaries from other groups as well. There were also those who had come to join the Flame Mercenaries, those looking for work, as well as merchants, and so on. Very soon, a great group of people had gathered around the boy and endlessly spoke to him. There were quite a few people who had come to watch as well. The boy was like a child who had never seen the world before. He became stunned when he was surrounded by such a large crow, staring at them blankly. His eyes were filled with curiosity as well as some timidness. "Kid, what's your name? Are you lost? Tell me where your home is. I'll take you back." However, the boy said nothing no matter what the surrounding people asked. He just stood there in a daze as he blankly stared back at everyone. His face was filled with confusion. A few sharper people immediately caught an inkling from the boy's behavior. They immediately guessed that the boy's background was nowhere near as complicated as they had imagined, because all descendants of large clans would undergo extremely strict education from a young age or be spoiled by their seniors' parents. They would possess a natural type of pride or supremacy and not behave in such a confused manner. Is there something wrong with this child? Has he been abandoned by his parents? A person inquired. At that moment, the people around him became much quieter. Many people's opinions of the boy underwent some minute changes. At this moment, a fat, wealthy-looking, middle-aged man dressed as a merchant approached the boy with small, white clothes. He crouched down and said with a wide smile, "Child, I've been a merchant for several dozen years and my foresight is extremely great. I can tell with a single glance that the clothes on you are just far too ugly. They don't suit you. Look, I just happen to have these beautiful clothes on me. I'll give them to you. Come, let me take off your clothes and then you can wear this." The fat man quickly moved as he said that, taking the boy's golden clothing off as quickly as he could. He then changed the boy into the white clothes that were also rather valuable. The boy acted like he understood nothing. He did not resist, allowing the man to take off his clothes and change him into the white clothes that seemed even better. This was because he could sense that the fat man would not harm him, nor did he hold any hostile intent. "You filthy merchant. You're tricking a kid for his stuff." Many people in the surroundings began to curse when they saw this. There were also a few people who sighed inside. They felt regretful over the fact that they did not act earlier. The boy's clothes were clearly something extraordinary, but unfortunately, the merchant had taken them away first. After getting the gold clothes, the fat man twisted them forcefully. As expected, they were as soft as embroidered cloth. They could not fade since they obviously had not been dyed. They were made from a material he had never seen before, and with his knowledge, he could immediately tell how extraordinary the material was. He immediately smiled complacently, disappearing into the crowd with the clothes. A few burly men in the crowd looked at each other before leaving the crowd as well, tailing the fat man. The most valuable item on the boy was his clothes, so now that it was gone, the crowd immediately lost interest and dispersed very quickly. The boy continued on without the crowd. He looked around as he moved, curious about everything. He would sink into his thoughts from time to time, but no one paid any more attention to him. The fat man who had taken the clothes had already made it outside the city now. He had discovered that a few people were tailing him, but he paid no heed to them at all. Instead, he hurriedly pulled the golden clothes from his bosom in excitement. He had already determined that the value of the clothes was far greater than anything he could imagine with his many years of experience, because he was unable to determine what they were made out of, even with all his knowledge. He had never seen nor heard about anything like this. However, his face immediately hardened when he stuck his hand into his bosom. The shining clothes were no longer present. He had grabbed a handful of soil. The soil had already been reduced to fine sand, slowly slipping through his fingers. What's happened? The fat man stared blankly for a while before crying out. He immediately became flustered and continued to dig into his bosom. Unfortunately, the clothes were nowhere to be seen. He could not find them no matter where he looked, only grabbing handfuls of soil. How is this possible? How is this possible? How is it soil? Where did the clothes from before go? Where did they go? I clearly put them here, the man said in sorrow. He thought through everything he had done since then, but he could not understand what had happened. Fucking fatty, hand over the clothes if you want to live. Over 10 burly men charged up from behind and surrounded him. They were all malicious, and the leader was an Earth Saint Master. The fat man had just lost the clothes, so he was furious. His face immediately sank when he saw the surrounding people and angrily bellowed, "Piss off! I'm not in a good mood." He arrived before the Earth Saint Master in a single stroke, directly hurling a punch. The fist shone with fire-red light as it erupted with a suffocating wave of heat. The punch moved very quickly. The Earth Saint Master could not dodge it, so he placed the huge sword in his hand vertically across his chest. A heavy sound immediately rang out when the fist collided with the sword. The first cycle Earth Saint Master was blown away along with his sword. A sixth cycle Earth Saint Master. The man who had been blown away cried out as his expression became extremely ugly. The surrounding men all revealed different expressions when they heard that. They were only great Saint Masters, so how could they be an opponent of an Earth Saint Master? They immediately turned and fled. The fat man did not chase after them. He racked his head in annoyance and cursed, "Some great expert must have realized the extraordinary clothes and secretly messed with me. It's my bad luck. I've lost several hundred gold coins because of this." The boy had already crossed a street back in Flame City. However, his white clothes became golden once again. They shone even brighter than gold. He was surrounded by another crowd of people again. His clothes were taken away by someone else again because of his naivety, causing the clothes on him to be replaced once again. The boy looked at the new clothes and found the process to be extremely odd. He could not understand why people liked to change him into beautiful clothes and celebrated when they saw the beautiful clothes on him. Very soon, someone cried out in a building in the city. The man who had taken the boy's clothes away had discovered that they had been reduced to something ordinary after taking them back to his inn. Not only that, they were reduced to dust once he touched it. Bai Lian currently handled the daily matters of the mercenaries in the city lord's estate while Yu sat beside in leisure, eating delicious cake. At this moment, a guard ran in from outside and dropped to one knee. He said, "Vice City Lord, I've just received a report that an extremely weird boy has appeared in our city. The boy wears gold clothes made from unknown material, and it's made many people go green with greed. Quite a few of them have used various methods to take his clothes, but they become extremely ordinary without long and turn to dust with a single touch. Meanwhile, the boy's new clothes will become golden once again. I suspect that this boy is far less simple than he seems, so I've specifically come to report this matter." Chapter 1309. A desirable boy by Lien raised her head and looked at the guard in doubt after hearing his report. She asked, "Are you saying that all the clothes the boy wears will turn golden, like how they were before they were taken off, and the clothes that were taken turn to dust as well?" "Yes, Vice City Lord. That's exactly what's happening, and I've even sent people to verify the outcome. This matter cannot be wrong. The boy only looks to be 3 or 4 years of age, so he hasn't cultivated before, yet he possesses an ability like this. I believe he is definitely something impressive," the guard politely replied. Although he was an Earth Saint Master, a reasonably powerful expert, People like him were just far too plentiful in the flame mercenaries. As a result, he dared not to show any arrogance before Bai Lian even though she was weaker than him. Yu Yu looked over as she ate her cake and became interested. She said to Bai Lian, "Sister Bai Lian, I'm assuming that this boy possesses some natural ability. These types of people are extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. Why don't we go see just how wondrous he is?" Bai Lian became interested as well. She put down her work at hand and stood up in excitement. She said, Sure. I haven't gone out in ages, so we can stroll through the city with this." Yu Yu and Bai Lian had hit it off since they were around the same age, so they immediately left the estate on 2 mighty class 5 magical beasts with a group of guards. A saint ruler secretly tailed them to protect them. The bright moon divine hall stood within the estate silently as it shone with an everlasting glow. Its presence was vast and it was beautiful, but it was also filled with a holy presence. In an empty corner of Flame City, an ordinary house sat. It was pitch black inside. Visibility was non-existent, and it was filled with the silence of the dead. However, an invisible pressure seemed to permeate the interior, making the house feel suffocating. At this moment, the door to the building opened, but the sunlight outside failed to enter the room. A skinny man entered the house like a ghost before silently closing the door. He dropped to one knee and growled, "Sect Master, Vice Sect Master, the Vice City Lord, Bai Lian, and you have left the estate together. Have they brought the bright moon divine hall with them?" A deep and husky voice materialized in the dark. "The bright moon divine hall remains in the estate. They have not brought it with them," the man politely replied. "I understand. You can leave," the same voice rang out again. It seemed to come from everywhere, making it impossible to discern the place it originated from within the darkness. "Yes, Sect Master, Vice Sect Master. I shall leave." The person turned around and left. He did not make a single sound as he walked, even when opening or closing the door. Fantastic! They've finally left the City Lord's estate without the bright moon divine hall. "Sect Master, we can use this opportunity to take revenge." A heavy voice rang out again within the dark room, but it was clearly different than the person who had spoken before. "We've already remained here for a long time just to kill the people most important to Jianchen. Yu Yu is his fiancée while Bai Lian is his sister. If we assassinate the two of them, Jianchen will definitely be left in agony. It's just been a pity that they've been hiding in the City Lord's estate and have never come out. I fear the bright moon divine hall that resides there, which is why we've waited until today. An opportunity has finally presented itself now. I'll wipe out their souls for sure, so they won't be able to be revived by a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. Oof, Jianchen, my underworld sect is not something that can be trifled with. You've wiped it out, so just wait for our wild revenge. Killing your fiancée and sister will only be the first step. The people hiding there were Sect Master Gu Zhen and Vice Sect Master Luo Qi of the Underworld sect who had managed to flee. At this moment, a large group of people gathered in a large street. They discussed events with one another, causing the entire street to be blocked. A boy in gold clothes stood blankly in the center of the crowd as he looked at the people around him in confusion. His cute face was filled with curiosity. Ever since he had found the city, he had been encircled by large crowds of people numerous times. Many of them hurriedly gifted him beautiful clothes, which made him extremely happy, but he could never understand why the people around him always liked to point at him. "I've heard that no matter what clothes they are, once they are worn by this kid, they'll turn golden. Its quality is extremely great, such that it becomes invaluable. Just look at the clothes on him. Anyone with some insight can tell that his clothes are worth even more than gold with just a single glance. I've heard of that as well, but I also heard that once the clothes are taken off him, they will return to how they were before and that they cannot be touched, or they'll be reduced to dust. What a wondrous boy. Surely he doesn't have an ability like the Midas touch. If that's true, doesn't that mean that he can produce endless amounts of wealth?" Many people conversed around the boy, but when they heard about the Midas touch, all of their eyes burned with desire. At this moment, a middle-aged woman squeezed her way to a spot right before the boy. She smiled as warmly as she could and softly inquired, "Precious, you can't find your family? All the people around here are bad people. Only I'm good. Come with me, I'll go find your family with you, okay? Kid, come with me. I can guarantee you a hearty life. Brother, come with sister. I like you the most. The people around the boy frantically began to fight over him, but since they were not people with great statuses, they could not use force due to the lack of deterrence from people fighting back. As a result, they could only try various methods to trick the boy away. At this moment, 4 heaven saint masters descended from the sky while flickering with light colored by specific attributes. They landed in the center of the crowd and surrounded the boy from 4 different directions. Afterward, one of them clasped his hands at the surrounding people and said, "Everyone, we are from the Zhou hermit clan of Zhou. This boy belongs to our Zhou family, so we shall be taking him away." Chapter 13:10 Assassination 1. What are you saying? I may not know why this boy's appeared in the city, nor do I know which clan he belongs to, but I am certain that he does not belong to your Zhou family. Do you still need to mention that? The boy's special ability has obviously caught the Zhou family's eye, which is why they want to take him away. After all, it's extremely likely that this boy has the ability of Midas touch. If such a wondrous ability fully matures, the Zhou family will enjoy an endless supply of wealth. They can buy large quantities of monster cores and cultivation resources for their descendants and make the clan even more powerful. Sigh, too bad they're strong. They've sent 4 heaven saint masters right off the bat, and they're a hermit clan as well. They possess a saint ruler, so we can't provoke them. Looks like the boy's going to be taken away by the Zhou family. Haha, people of Zhou, I never thought you would actually arrive so quickly. Unfortunately, you cannot take away the child. At this moment, a loud chuckle rang out. 3 middle-aged men in white robes quickly flew over from afar and also landed beside the boy. The 3 of them seemed valiant with straight eyebrows, but they all looked the same. They were triplets. The 4 heaven saint masters from the Zhou family revealed different expressions when they saw the 3 men. One of them growled, "I never thought the Yun brothers of the Heartsword sect would come as well. You sure have quick access to information to hurry over from over 10,000 kilometers away." The 4 heaven saint masters from the Zhou family clearly feared the triplets very much. Although the Heartsword sect was also a hermit clan, it was far more powerful than the Zhou family, as they possessed 3 saint rulers, outnumbering the Zhou family. At the same time, the 3 brothers had all reached the 6th cycle. Coupled with the fact that they were triplets, they understood one another and knew how to use combined attacks. They could work together perfectly, and if the 3 of them began fighting at the same time, they could defeat the 4 of them easily. The eldest among the 3 brothers chuckled and clasped his hands at the 4 heaven saint masters. "Our Heartsword sect will be taking this child away. You shouldn't have any problems with that, right?" The 4 heaven saint masters hesitated, so a second brother immediately sneered, "Do not say that this kid is a part of your Zhou family. I think you understand why." The 4 heaven saint masters immediately revealed ugly expressions. After a moment of hesitance, the person who seemed to be in charge finally gritted his teeth and said, "All right, we don't want the child anymore. If you want to take him away, take him away. I hope your Heartsword sect can protect this child. His ability is unique, so it's probably already caught the attention of a few ancient clans." The eldest brother smiled mildly, "That's our problem, so there's no need for you to worry." He then turned around and said to someone beside him, "Third brother, take this child back." The 3 brothers were secretly worried as well. This was the territory of the Flame Mercenaries, and they did not know if the upper echelon of the Flame Mercenaries had received the news. They needed to take the child away before someone from the Flame Mercenaries could hurry over. The 3rd brother nodded once before arriving beside the boy and grabbing his arm, but the next moment, his face slightly sank. He seemed slightly startled by the boy. He could not help but call out, "What a heavy boy! He's at least several tons." The people in the surroundings broke into a hubbub with that exclamation. Some experts possessed many abilities that could make their bodies as heavy as mountains, connecting themselves with the earth, but the child right in front of them were only 3 or 4 years of age. Everyone became surprised once again since he possessed an ability like that. The 3rd brother immediately used both his hands. He wanted to lift the boy off the ground, But after using all of his strength and after his face had become flushed with blood, the boy did not move at all. He was shocked, and the gaze he sent the boy reflected exactly that. With his strength, he could lift things that were several dozen tons heavy, yet he was unable to lift the boy who was less than a meter tall. He found it difficult to believe. The eldest brother frowned slightly. At that moment, he too realized that the boy was probably far more complicated than he had imagined, which made him feel an even greater urgency to take the boy back. He did want the boy to be taken by another organization. "Second brother, let's do it together," he called out before grabbing the boy with the other man. However, even when all three of them worked together, they failed to lift the boy up, shocking the crowd. The boy stared at the three brothers in confusion as he blinked his large eyes. The three brothers wanted to vomit blood from his pure gaze. To think that they were mighty sixth cycle Heaven Saint Master, yet they could not even lift a kid. Even though the child was unique, it was still embarrassing for the three of them. "The Vice City Lord has arrived." Suddenly, a loud voice rang out from beyond the crowd, immediately causing the crowd to fall into a commotion. The densely packed people split apart by themselves to open a wide path. The three brothers sank inside as soon as they heard the voice. The matter they worried most about still happened in the end. Yu Yu and Bai Lian slowly made their way over on large, ferocious Class 5 magical beasts. Beside the two of them were several dozen guards. Even the weakest guards were third cycle Earth Saint Master. They all wore armor forged from tungsten alloy, and 10 Heaven Saint Masters formed the final line. "We greet the Vice City Lord." All the people gathered in the street clasped their hands and bowed. They cried out thunderously. The position of Vice City Lord virtually reigned supreme in regard to the Flame Mercenaries and Flame City. It was even greater than the status of a king in the 8 Great Kingdoms. The three brothers sighed inside and helplessly let go of the child. They bowed deeply at Bai Lian with the 4 Heaven Saint Masters from the Zhou family and called out together, "We greet the Vice City Lord." "There's no need to be so polite," Bai Lian smiled. Her voice was soft and she spoke nonchalantly. She had experienced things like this countless times already, so she had learned how to easily deal with the situation. "What a cute boy." Yu Yu stared at the boy in clothes that seemed to be made of gold, and she immediately took a liking to him. Bai Lian looked at the boy as well and her eyes immediately lit up. She also took a liking to him. The boy was white and chubby. His large, dark eyes were filled with purity and naivety. He really was extremely cute. Let alone females, even a few men would be tempted to glance at him a few extra times and sigh in praise. The boy stared at Yu Yu and Bai Lian without blinking. His eyes were filled with curiosity and confusion. For some reason, he felt that the two of them were particularly close with him at first glance, because he could feel an extremely warm presence from them. Yu Yu and Bai Lian dismounted at the same time and hurried to the boy's side. The 10 Heaven Saint Masters beside them immediately followed close beside them, protecting the two of them in a loyal manner. Even the Heaven Saint Masters from the Zhou family and Heartsword sect were driven 10 meters away. However, they dared not to show any displeasure and, instead, maintained a smile throughout. "Little boy, tell sister what your name." Yu Yu crouched down beside the boy and smiled warmly as she asked softly. The boy stared at Yu Yu in confusion and said nothing. "Little boy, tell sister what your name and where you live," Bai Lian asked as well in concern. The boy remained the same, confused and silent. It seemed like he did not know how to speak at all. At this moment, Yu Yu violently quivered. Her expression immediately underwent a drastic change and the gaze she viewed the boy with was filled with extreme shock and disbelief. Just then, Fairy Yu Yu had spoken to her, so she had learned the true identity of the boy. The boy was actually the metal spirit that had withstood the 9 bolts of lightning from the tungsten alloy mine. He was a natural spirit, possessing extremely great potential. Yu Yu had also learned that the boy was an Origin Realm expert from Fairy Yu Yu at the same time. Yu Yu felt extremely shocked because of this. She could not believe that the harmless-looking boy was even more terrifying than Saint Emperors, standing at the same level as the 4 great champions from ancient times. "Yu Yu, what's wrong?" Bai Lian sensed Yu Yu's changes and immediately became suspicious. Yu Yu sucked in a deep breath and forcefully calmed herself down. However, her opinion of the boy had already undergone a drastic change. After a short while of silence, Yu extended her hands toward the boy in a rather trembling manner. Yu softly said, "Little brother, I know you have no home. Why don't you come with me and live with me from now on? I'll treat you like my own brother, okay?" No one knew whether the boy understood what Yu had said or what she intended, but he did not turn her down. He obediently grabbed onto her hand. The boy found Yu and Bai Lian to be especially close, like family, because Yu and Bai Lian gave off a feeling that made him feel extremely warm. The boy was taken onto the Class 5 magical beast mount that Yu rode, but to everyone's surprise, the beast easily withstood the boy's weight, as if he was no longer as heavy as before. The Yun brothers bitterly watched everything unfold. They did not even think of the possibility that the boy had been resisting the three of them before, unwilling to go with them, which was why he had become so heavy that he was immovable. Just as Yu and Bai Lian were returning to the city lord's estate with the boy, the space within a radius of 100 meters suddenly froze. All the people within that area became immobilized, and even the saint ruler watching over Bai Lian secretly suffered the same fate. Chapter 1311. Assassination 2. The two of them moved extremely fast. They seemed to have fused with the surrounding space, appearing before Yu and Bai Lian in a short moment through the use of spatial force. The dagger in their hands stabbed toward the center of Yu and Bai Lian's eyebrows, wanting to wipe out their souls in a way that even Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters could not revive them. This time, the strongest guard they had brought was only a saint ruler. They did not possess any saint kings secretly watching over them, so the impressive-looking group of guards were completely useless against the assassination attempt from two saint kings. They had just been reduced to a deterrence. Even the saint ruler protecting them secretly suffered the same fate. He was immobilized by the frozen space. However, not everyone within the 100-meter radius had been frozen. The boy who sat on the Class 5 magical beast with Yu was completely unaffected. He stared at the two Saint King assassins as they rapidly approached him with his large, naive eyes. He only seemed to be 3 or 4 years old, but he could easily follow the movements of the two Saint Kings. At the same time, a ball of gentle, white light rose out from Yu. The moon god scepter flew out of her space ring. It was small and exquisite, and its simple patterning was clearly visible. The fist-sized white gem embedded at the top shone with gentle moonlight. The moon god scepter hovered before Yu, and suddenly, an extremely powerful ripple of energy swept out of the gem. It formed a thin-looking but tough barrier around Yu and Bai Lian. This was the energy fairy Hao Yu had left behind. It was her power when she was a peak Saint Emperor, which had been activated during this crucial moment. The two Saint Kings were less than a meter away from Yu and Bai Lian right now. Seeing how they had become protected by a barrier of energy, a sharp light immediately flashed through their eyes. They used all they had. The vast energy within them surged into their daggers, slicing through the surrounding space. They wanted to kill them in a single blow. The boy's gaze finally underwent some changes at that moment. His eyes were no longer filled with confusion or curiosity. Instead, they glowed bright like stars and contained some anger. The boy could sense the killing intent from the two Saint Kings. The boy would not have reacted if the Saint Kings attacked other people, including the guards around Yu and Bai Lian, but they just had to attack the two people that he felt most close with and who gave him a warm feeling. At this crucial moment, the boy struck out. He extended his two soft, white, small hands. They shone with dazzling golden light, even more resplendent than gold and more blinding than the sun. The light directly engulfed the two assassins. The next moment, the two assassins came to a sudden halt before their daggers could land on the barrier of moonlight force. They had already become trapped in the air by a mysterious and powerful force. The two assassins were shocked. They had been Saint Kings for a very long time. Although they had not reached great perfection, even those at great perfection would not be able to completely trap them. They would only able to make them pause for a moment. Yet they were trapped right now. Not only were they immobilized, even the energy within them had broken away from their control. They had been reduced to ordinary people, shocking them greatly. Now that the two Saint Kings were trapped, The frozen space in the surroundings returned to how it had been before, and the several dozen guards all noticed what had happened. There are assassins! Protect the Vice City Lord and Princess Yu. The hidden Saint Ruler loudly called out as he aggressively charged at the two Saint Kings first. However, his face was pale. This paleness did not come from being frightened by the two Saint Kings, but by what was about to happen to Yu and Bai Lian. He understood just far too well how important the two of them were to Jianqin. If the two of them had been assassinated under his watch, it would be him who would have been held responsible. Probably only his death would suffice at that time. A flare shot into the sky and loudly exploded. It was visible across the entire city. A guard had sent out a signal for help as quickly as he could. The Saint Ruler had already arrived beside one of the Saint Kings and swung his machete toward Luo Qi's neck without any hesitation. Even though Luo Qi was a Saint King, he was currently trapped by the boy. Not only did he lose his mobility, he even lost control over the energy inside him. He could not use any Saint King's abilities either. He could not dodge the strike at all, only helplessly watch as the flaming machete flew toward his neck. Spurt! Luo Qi was easily beheaded. His head parted from his body. The blood spurted a meter into the sky, but he was still alive. As long as the souls of Saint Kings remained, they would not be able to die. The Saint Ruler became stunned when he saw how he had beheaded the Saint King so easily. However, he returned to his senses very quickly, and without any hesitation he immediately swung at Luo Qi's head again, in attempt to wipe out his soul. Luo Qi's head was sliced into two by the swing. His fragile soul disintegrated away. Meanwhile, the 10 Heaven Saint Masters around Yu and Bai Lian boldly charged at Gu Zhen as well. They all struck out as hard as they could, covering Gu Zhen with wounds in a short moment even though he was just about to become a peak of Saint King. Chapter 13:12. Shaojin Gu Zhen became wide-eyed and became filled with regret and humiliation. He was a mighty Saint King only an inch away from the peak of Saint King. Even with the whole continent in perspective, he was able to rampage wherever he went, yet he was now covered in wounds from ant-like Heaven Saint Masters and even Earth Saint Masters. He was in horrible condition and this would become a permanent stain to his name. However, he was just unable to do anything. A mysterious and powerful force trapped him, where he could not resist at all. He just became a sitting duck as ant-like existences heavily injured him. Spurt! 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 The several dozen Earth Saint Masters and Heaven Saint Masters rapidly swung their saint weapons at every inch of Gu Zhen's body. In the blink of an eye, he was covered in blood and the wounds on him had become countless. A large portion of his neck was gone, and only a third of the flesh kept his head connected to his body. His head had almost fallen off and was covered in wounds as well. He had become blind in one eye. Gu Zhen was an extremely powerful Saint King, but he was a human after all. He did not possess a naturally tough body like magical beasts. If a Class 8 magical beast was in the same situation, its body would be able to remain unscathed even from attacks of Saint Rulers. Am I really going to die to the hands of ants today? God damn it, I never thought that there would actually be a Saint Emperor hidden within Flame City. Is it Fairy Hao Yu? No, that's impossible. She's just a soul now. She doesn't possess her former strength, Gu Zhen growled inside. He was more willing to be slain by an expert as strong as him than be hacked away by a group of ants. He struggled with all he had, but the mysterious force was far greater than he had ever imagined. It was useless no matter how hard he tried. This person's a Saint Ruler at the very least. Experts at those levels will not die as long as their souls remain. Let's attack his head together, a Heaven Saint Master called out. He was unable to tell whether Gu Zhen was a Saint Ruler or Saint King with his strength. He only knew that Saint Rulers possessed the ability to freeze space. The other guards chopped at Gu Zhen's head with that. In just a short while, Gu Zhen's head was obliterated by the flurry of attacks, but his soul remained. An illusionary figure condensed in the air, but it seemed as thin as a wisp of smoke. The strongest were only 6th Cycle Heaven Saint Masters. Clearly, they were unable to wipe out his soul with a single attack, but their attacks were enough to deal extremely heavy damage. The soul had become extremely illusionary. The guards immediately felt surprised when they saw that Gu Zhen was still alive. Suddenly, Gu Zhen's soul beamed with joy since he had sensed that the mysterious force around him had vanished. Without any hesitation, he immediately attempted to flee. But a streak of fire-red light flashed over at this moment. The saint ruler who secretly guarded Bai Lian charged over with his machete surrounded by flames. He swung it at Gu Zhen's soul with an unstoppable force. A saint ruler's strength was incomparable to a group of heaven's saint masters. Gu Zhen's weakened soul collapsed from the strike. He had been killed off. The saint ruler slowly put away his weapon after Gu Zhen's soul dispersed. His face was flushed while his body gently trembled due to extreme excitement. Only he understood that the two assassins were not saint rulers, but saint kings. He had actually killed 2 saint kings with his strength today. If such an unprecedented feat was broadcast, it would definitely shake the entire continent. He felt extremely prideful about this feat. Yu Yu had already grasped the moon god scepter, except its gem had become much dimmer now. Although Yu Yu and Bai Lian had just experienced something frightening, the two of them maintained their usual demeanor, because Yu Yu always carried the scepter with her. It contained a fragment of power from Fairy Hao Yu all those years ago, so let alone attacks from Saint Kings, it could even easily block attacks from Saint Emperors. There was enough to last until the Divine Hall arrived. Little brother, I really have to thank you for before. If it weren't for you, I'd probably be in danger now. Yu Yu put the scepter away and gently rubbed the boy's head. Her face was filled with affection. The boy immediately felt a warm feeling expand inside, as if he was being embraced by his family. It was comforting, calming, and lovely, while the closeness and familiarity he felt for Yu Yu deepened as well. The boy suddenly looked at Yu Yu with his large, round eyes. They were so pure, yet filled with curiosity. He finally stuttered after a long while, "Sister." The boy did not seem to have spoken before, so the word seemed extremely difficult and foreign when he uttered the single word. Yu Yu immediately beamed with joy. She happily said, "Oh, you've finally spoken. And I had thought that you didn't know how to speak." Yu Yu was extremely excited inside. She knew the boy quite well. It was quite an honor to be called sister by an Origin Realm expert. "Good boy. Say sister as well." Bai Lian stuck her head over as well and looked at the boy affectionately. She paid no attention to the 2 bloody corpses up ahead. "Sister." The boy blinked as he looked at Bai Lian, calling her sister. However, he spoke much smoother this time. "You probably still don't have a name, right? Why don't I give you one? Seeing how you're wearing gold clothes, you might as well be called Xiao Jin." Bai Lian giggled happily. Afterward, he stuttered as he repeated the name, Xiao Jin. At this moment, most of the other guards and saint rulers had all hurried over from the city lord's estate. The person leading them was Bai Hai. He was in a complete panic, but when he saw that Yu Yu and Bai Lian were fine, he let out a sigh of relief. "Fortunately you're fine, or I would have been riddled with regret. Alright, have you investigated who the assassins are? Once we find the main instigator, we cannot forgive them at all," Bai Hai said with some lingering fear, and when he reached the end of his speech, he immediately became stern. "Bai Hai, the people who have tried to assassinate the Vice City Lord and Princess Yu Yu were 2 saint kings," the saint ruler who secretly stood guard sternly replied. Bai Hai's face changed as soon as he heard that. After a moment of silence, he said, "Take the corpses of these 2 people back. Looks like we can only deal with this after my grandson gets back." Saint Kings had already surpassed the limits of what Bai Hai could deal with. The city possessed nothing else that could deal with Saint Kings other than the bright moon divine hall. Yu Yu and Bai Lian returned to the estate in a formidable fashion under the protection of the guards. However, a boy in gold clothes had appeared within the estate from that day on. He basically followed Yu Yu and Bai Lian around everywhere, sticking close at all times. He spoke very less and was extremely obedient, making him everyone's favorite. He would purposefully get close to Bai Hai at times as well, revolving around him such that even Bai Hai began to take a liking to the child. Yu Yu secretly told Bai Lian and Bai Hai about Xiao Jin's secret identity. Bai Lian wavered between belief and disbelief while Bai Hai broke into laughter. He completely thought that Yu Yu was joking, so he did not believe her at all. It was far too shocking that a boy, who seemed to be 3 or 4 years of age and could not even talk, was an origin realm expert. Nobody would have believed this revelation. Chapter 13:13 Movements of the Tao family in the world of forsaken saints. The scorching sun shone like blood as its demonic light illuminated the world. It was extremely hot, such that it felt like one's skin was being burned when it landed on people. The cultivation resources in the world of forsaken saints far outclassed the Tianyuan continent. To the people of the continent, the world of forsaken saints was like the heaven of legends, a holy land for cultivation. However, Tianyuan continent seemed like the realm of immortals in terms of scenery. There was nowhere in the world of forsaken saints that could rival the beauty of just a few places on the Tianyuan continent. A vast mountain range only smaller than the world mountains stood on the eastern side of the world. All the steep mountains possessed flat peaks, as if they had been forcefully chopped off by someone, allowing majestic, ancient halls to stand on them. The hall in the very center was over 10 kilometers long and wide. It stood several thousand meters tall. It was the most eye-catching since it was completely made from white jade. The snow-white structure gave off a different kind of ambient light as the blood-red sun shone from above. It was enchanting. This was the most sacred and most glorious place of the world of forsaken saints, the Sacred Spirit Hall. The Sacred Spirit Hall was supreme within the world of forsaken saints because they were the rulers. If the world of forsaken saints was an extremely vast empire, the Sacred Spirit Hall would be the imperial palace while the Spirit King would be the current emperor. He possessed supreme authority and controlled the world. The Spirit King currently sat on a grand throne in simple clothes with a metal sword on his back within the hall. Below him sat over 40 origin realm experts quietly, and below them were the illusionary souls of several dozen Saint Kings at great perfection. Spirit King, the other world is pitifully weak. Not even a single Saint Emperor has appeared. Spirit King, the other world does not have origin energy and the energy of the world is thin. The strongest people among them are equivalent to Saint Kings at great perfection, and there's only a few thousand of them. Spirit King, the other world lacks origin energy, but the scenery there is extremely beautiful. It's like a realm of immortals. I swear that I've never seen such a beautiful world before. The Saint Kings all reported everything they had learned from the other world to the Spirit King without hiding anything at all. The Spirit King and the other origin realm experts all frowned. The strength of the other world was nowhere near what they had imagined. Spirit King, there's an extremely frightening plane of ice in the other world. As soon as I was transported away, I was frozen by extremely heavy frost. I lost consciousness without even being able to exist, another Saint King at great perfection reported courteously. However, this only raised the slight attention of the Spirit King and the origin realm experts. There were quite a few danger zones in the world of forsaken saints that could kill Saint Kings at great perfection instantly, so it did not attract their attention. Spirit King, since the other world does not have origin energy, it's impossible for them to give birth to origin realm experts. As a result, the origin realm expert who guards the seal is likely to be a natural spirit, because only natural spirits can continue cultivating in such horrendous conditions, said an old man at returnance. He had lived for several tens of thousand years, so he was knowledgeable. He knew many secrets and rumors, something that the Spirit King could not rival since he was only 800 years old. Elder Mu too has raised a fair point. The origin realm expert is definitely a natural spirit. There can't be many of them, so what should we do next, Spirit King? Another returnance elder asked. The Spirit King paused for a while before coldly replying, the plan will remain the same. Once the spatial tunnel stabilizes enough, send 500 personal guards through. Since the other world does not welcome us, we can only conquer it by force. But your personal guards are only Saint Emperors. They won't be able to contend with that origin realm expert, a returnance elder said with some worry. The Spirit King did not waver at all. The metal sword on his back produced a clear resonance as it flew into his hand as a dark streak. He gently rubbed it and said, "Just let my sword of passing clouds deal with that origin realm expert. I'll leave a portion of my power in the sword. I may not be able to use my full strength, but it'll be more than enough to keep that expert busy. A huge divine hall stood in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall within the Sea Realm. It was the main base of the Tao family. Many newly built buildings stood around it, housing a few ordinary clansmen within the Alliance. After experiencing the intense battle with the Turtle Clan, the Alliance always kept the Divine Hall outside. All the important members of the Alliance, including the several Saint Kings, stayed in the Divine Hall to prevent a sudden sneak attack from the Turtle Clan. The Tao family had suffered heavy casualties last time and had lost several Saint Kings. The violent ripples of battle had even affected the foundation of the clan, but this failed to weaken them. They had become even more powerful than before. This was because Tao Jingtian used this as an opportunity to gain complete control over the clans in the Alliance. He was the only one in possession of a divine hall, so the other Saint Kings could only join the Tao family to protect themselves from the Turtle Clan's attempts at revenge. Tao Jingtian sat at the center of the divine hall in the back while the Saint Kings from the other clans sat beneath him in an orderly fashion. They were very reluctant to have their relationship with the Tao family devolve from allies to subsidiaries, but they were helpless to stop the transformation. The strength of the Turtle Clan has surpassed all of our imaginations. We may have a divine hall that the Turtle Clan can do nothing to, but they also have one as well, so we can't do anything to them either. Our enmity has already reached a point of no return, where only one of us, the Alliance or the Turtle Clan, can remain in the end. With my understanding, the ruler of the Turtle Clan is an unprecedented genius. His strength has rapidly increased, and in just a few short years he's grown from the 15th star expert to the 16th star, and he's a rather powerful 16th star expert. If this continues, he'll become an emperor without long, Tao Jingtian said heavily. He was extremely stern. The Saint Kings below felt shocked. One of them immediately asked in doubt, "Patriarch Tao, becoming an emperor is not that easy. Aren't you overestimating the ruler of the Turtle Clan by saying he will become an emperor?" "Yeah, Patriarch Tao. The ruler of the Turtle Clan really does have some skill. I do believe that he will reach the level of Hall Elders, but I cannot believe that he will become an emperor." The Saint Kings in the hall revealed their doubts. Tao Jingtian slowly answered, "Who knows about the future? I've conducted special investigations of the ruler from the Turtle Clan, and according to what I can recall, he was not even a 14th star expert a few years ago. The Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan had been slain by one of the 5 great magical beasts and 2 of the great human experts. It's only been so long since then, yet he's already become one of the stronger 16th star experts. His rate of improvement really is unbelievable. If you're saying it's due to some heavenly resource, I really cannot think of anyone that can increase his growth at such a rate. As a result, I've concluded that he possesses shocking talent, and his potential is tremendous. If he successfully matures, he will definitely become an emperor in the future. At that time, there will only be death for us even if we have the divine hall." The Saint Kings all revealed ugly expressions. They all felt extremely heavy inside. Tao Jingtian continued, "As a result, we need to kill him before he fully matures. Patriarch Tao, the experts of the Turtle Clan outnumber us, and they also possess a divine hall. We cannot kill their ruler," a Saint King bitterly replied. Tao Jingtian sinisterly smiled, "I have my plans for this. If it succeeds, the ruler of the Turtle Clan will be dead for sure, even if he has a divine hall." Tao Jingtian immediately concluded the meeting before silently leaving the divine hall without alerting anyone. He made his way to the territory of the Serpent God Hall as quickly as he could. At the same time, it had already reached the final few days before the 3-month deadline in the Xianhuang microcosm. Jian Chen and Tai Ta had embarked on their journey back with bountiful harvests. They followed the marks they had left behind, heading to the exit of the world as quickly as they could. The Xianhuang microcosm was extremely large. They had not even covered a tenth of the entire space in the time they had spent there, but they still found many heavenly resources and gathered many energy crystals of Class 9 Xianhuang beasts. However, what Jianchen was most joyous about from this trip was not the large amount of high-quality heavenly resources, but that he had found all the materials for the azulate swords. His dream of many years would finally come true. A day later, a Saint King Elder walked courteously into a vast but extremely quiet hall within the central divine hall of the Serpent God Hall's territory. He said to the empty hall, "Hall Master, the ancestor of the Tao family, a peak-level clan in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall, wishes to see you." He stated that he has some important matters to report. Chapter 13-14. Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall, the Tao family of the Sea Goddess Hall? A heavy voice suddenly rang out from the empty hall. It seemed to come from everywhere, making it impossible to determine its origins. Esteemed Hall Master, it is the Tao family of the Sea Goddess Hall. Tao Jingtian is currently waiting outside the Divine Hall. He wants to see you, the elder said courteously. The Hall Master thought a little in silence and said, "Recently, an intense battle erupted between the Turtle Clan and the Tao family. The Tao family suffered heavy casualties. I already know why Tao Jingtian has come. Let him in." "Yes, sir." The elder bowed before leaving. Soon, Tao Jingtian was brought to this majestic hall under the lead of the elder. Tao Jingtian immediately erased all presence of arrogance when he arrived there. He lowered his head slightly and behaved politely. He refrained from breathing heavily and dared not to look around. "Esteemed Hall Master, Tao Jingtian is here," said the elder politely. "You may go." "Yes, Hall Master." Only Tao Jingtian stood in the extremely grand hall after the elder was dismissed. He immediately bowed at the empty throne there and politely said, "Tao Jingtian greets the esteemed Hall Master." The Hall Master did not appear, but his heavy voice rang through the hall. "Tao Jingtian, I know why you've come. You want me to help you deal with Jianchen." The voice seemed to possess a certain amount of pressure. Tao Jingtian immediately felt like his soul was about to shatter from the voice, which terrified him. Afterward, he became even more courteous toward the Hall Master. "The esteemed Hall Master is too smart for me to have actually read my intentions. You are correct. I have come this time hoping that the Hall Master can step in and remove the threat of the Turtle Clan, so my Tao family can be saved," Tao Jingtian said in a deep voice, without the dignity of the patriarch of the Tao family at all. "Your Tao family belongs to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. It has nothing to do with my Serpent God Hall, so why should I save you?" The Hall Master queried. Tao Jingtian immediately dropped to one knee and politely said, "Esteemed Hall Master, the enmity between my clan and the Turtle Clan has reached the point of no return. Only one of us can remain standing in the end. Meanwhile, the ruler of the Turtle Clan has an unknown friendship with the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall, so it's impossible for her to protect us. With the entire sea realm in perspective, only you can save my clan. Please protect us." Tao Jingtian paused before continuing. "Not only does the ruler of the Turtle Clan, Jianchen, possess an extremely deep enmity with my clan, he's never viewed the sacred Serpent God Hall with any importance at all. Back then, he came to challenge the dignity of the Serpent God Hall with just his Octaterra Divine Hall, so he cannot be forgiven. Even cutting him to pieces would not be enough to make up for his crimes. Unfortunately, the ruler of the Turtle Clan possesses unprecedented talent. He's growing just far too quickly. He's reached the 16th star from the 14th star in just a few short years, and he's reached the higher levels of the 16th star. If he is given some more time, he'll definitely reach the level of emperors. At that time, not only will he devastate my Tao family, he'll become even more fearless. He will cause trouble for the Serpent God Hall and cause endless problems for the esteemed Hall Master. The Hall Master fell silent after listening to Tao Jingtian's analysis. Only after a long while did he say, "What you said is rather reasonable. Jianchen's talent is very great and his speed of growth has even taken me aback. He really might become an emperor once he is given enough time." Tao Jingtian cheered inside. He knew that the Hall Master had been tempted, so he took the opportunity to add, "Esteemed Hall Master, we cannot let the ruler of the Turtle Clan to become an emperor because he belongs to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall and has an extraordinary relationship with the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall. If he becomes an emperor, the strength of the Sea Goddess Hall will skyrocket. At that time, probably the balance of the entire sea realm will shift. This is extremely detrimental to you, esteemed Hall Master, so we need to eliminate the ruler of the turtle clan as soon as possible. This time, the hall master fell silent for quite a long time. He also seemed to be able to sense the danger that Jianchen would bring. The forces of the Sea Realm were locked in a three-way stalemate right now, where each territory possessed an emperor. They were in a balance with one another, but if the Sea Goddess Hall gained another Saint Emperor, then the balance would definitely be broken. The Hall Master finally said after a very long time, "Tao Jingtian, there are restrictions between we three emperors. We cannot trespass each other's territory so easily." At the same time, that little girl, Yadrium, has become a Saint Emperor slightly later than me, but her strength is unfathomable. She is not easy to deal with, so I cannot cross the boundary to slay the ruler of the Turtle Clan. You are responsible for baiting him into my territory. As soon as he sets foot here, I can kill him without any fear. At that time, even that little girl Yadrium won't be able to say anything. Just do not worry, Hall Master. I will definitely draw the ruler of the Turtle Clan here. Tao Jingtian was overjoyed. He appeared excited but mumbled inside, "I never thought that the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall would fear the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall so much. Looks like she's stronger than him." Chapter 13-15, Family Conflict 1. Virtually all the Saint Kings of the Tianyuan continent had gathered in Mercenary City. Only a few Saint Rulers were temporarily able to avoid the affair. People needed to be at least Saint Kings to deal with the threat of the foreign world. The Saint Rulers were no different from cannon fodder before Saint Kings and Saint Emperors. Although there were far more Saint Rulers than Saint Kings on the Tianyuan continent, their numbers were limited. Unless they ran out of options, they would never let Saint Rulers die for nothing because they were the future of the continent. Over 30 people of different ages had gathered in the ancestral hall of the protector Changyang clan. They were all Saint Rulers, and a few of them had reached the 9th heavenly layer. They were only an inch away from becoming Saint Kings. An old, dignified, 9th heavenly layer Saint Ruler said to the group, "Everyone, I've summoned you here today to discuss an important matter. Not only does this relate to our dignity, it also connects to the prestige and status we should have as a protector clan." The old man was Changyang Qingyu, the most prestigious person among the Qing branch aside from the esteemed great elders. Not only was this because of his level of cultivation, it was also because of his talent. He was one of the few Saint Rulers who had managed to grasp a Saint-tier battle skill. At the same time, he already had a foot planted in the realm of Saint Kings and would become the 4th great elder of the Qing branch soon. None of the Saint Rulers from the Qing and Yuan branch said anything. They all looked at Changyang Qing. He had become the backbone of the clan in some vague sense now that the great elders were not present. Changyang Qing paused and looked around. He became extremely stern and then said, "I think some of you already know what I am going to say next. Correct, it'll be related to the Zhu branch breaking away from the Protector clan. Since ancient times, the 3 branches have all been one family, yet the people of the Zhu branch have actually broken away over a single saint's fruit and have even worked with magical beasts to seal our miniature world. We're one of the 10 Protector clans after all, so when have we ever experienced such humiliation without doing anything? As a result, we cannot let this matter slide. The esteemed great elders have gone to Mercenary City for some important matters, so they are busy for now. This is why we need to act personally to regain the dignity of the clan. Changyang Qingyi, do you plan on making trouble for the Changyang clan in Lore City? What do we do if we come across the 3 magical beasts? We can't deal with them," another old man, also a 9th heavenly layer Saint Ruler, asked. Changyang Qingyi smiled mysteriously and said, "That's not necessarily true. We're not looking for trouble, but resolving matters within our clan, getting the people of the Zhu branch to return to our protector clan. The Zhu branch won't be able to leave so easily just because they want to. You don't need to worry about the 3 magical beasts. According to what I know, virtually all the Saint Kings have gathered in Mercenary City, so the 3 magical beasts are no exceptions either. The Changyang clan in Lore City no longer possesses a Saint King watching over them. They just have a few old friends that we know." Changyang Qing is correct. We've been sealed up in the miniature world for such a long time, so how can we let the matter slide without saying or doing anything? Otherwise, people will just look down on us. A middle-aged man in red robes nonchalantly added. He was a saint ruler from the Yuan Brock, currently at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer. The other saint rulers obviously had nothing else to say now that the representatives of the two branches had agreed, so the rest of them agreed with Changyang Qingyi's suggestion. They had been locked up in the miniature world like prisoners since a few days ago, so they were utterly furious. All they lacked was someone to initiate everything. The Changyang clan remained as peaceful as before in Lore City. Only the people from a few nearby hermit or ancient clans had come to visit them. Because of the Changyang clan, even the status of the Jessen kingdom had risen. They had become a kingdom even more well-renowned than the 8 great kingdoms. Although the overall power of the kingdom did not rise quickly, its status was different than before. Suddenly, the sky above the peaceful clan began to violently twist. A space gate quickly formed. Before the people had even emerged, a vast presence surged out like a tidal wave, permeating the entire region and engulfing the entirety of Lore City. Saint rulers poured out of the space gate one after another soon after. There were over 30 of them in total. They all floated high up in the air with the Changyang clan beneath them. They were the saint rulers from the Yuan and Qing branches. They had come through the space gate in the clan without the need of a saint king. All the people in the city sensed their arrival, because the presence from over 30 saint rulers was far too powerful, having even surpassed the presence of a single saint king. It caused the surrounding air and clouds to churn as the energy of the world was sent into a rampage. It alerted all the people within the city. The saint rulers in the forbidden grounds of the Changyang clan sensed that the people had come with hostile intent. They took to the sky as quickly as possible. All the saint rulers from the Zhu branch moved together, meeting the Yuan and Qing branches in the air. They looked at them in anger. "So it's you. Why have you come?" A 9th heavenly layer saint ruler old man from the Zhu branch heavily questioned. They had severed their connection with the two branches long ago, so they were no longer related to one another. Changyang Qingyi coldly smiled. The Changyang clan in Lore City was originally a branch family of our protector clan, so we obviously can come and go as we please. Do we need a reason? What a bunch of lies. The Changyang clan of Lore City was founded by my master, Changyang Zhu Yunkong, single-handedly. Now that master is no longer a member of the protector clan, the Changyang clan of Lore City is obviously not connected to the protector clan in any way or fashion. Uncle Chang flew up from below in the attire of a caretaker. He spoke forcefully. He had already learned that Changyang Qingyun wanted to take the saint's fruit from the 4th young master, so he had caused the 2 other branches to battle the Zhu branch. As a result, he did not have a good opinion of the Changyang protector clan. Coupled with the fact that he was a saint ruler now, he stood on equal level with the people there. It was obvious that he possessed the confidence to speak. Chapter 1316, Family Conflict 2. Since when did you have the right to meddle in the affairs of your masters? Chang Wuji, do you really think that you stand on the same level as us just because you're a saint ruler now? A saint ruler from the Yuan branch coldly said to Chang Wuji. Chang Wuji, don't forget your status. You are only a dog that was adopted by the protector clan. If the dog bites his master, the master can kill it at any time, another saint ruler from the Qing branch called out. He spoke with a cold voice, looking at Chang Wuji like he was looking at a servant. They were descendants of the protector clan, so they possessed a natural sense of supremacy and arrogance. Meanwhile, Chang Wuji was of low birth, so even after becoming a saint ruler, he still did not catch the eyes of the saint rulers from the protector clan. The dozen or so saint rulers from the Zhu branch remained with neutral expressions. None of them said anything. They were not close with Chang Wuji, so they did not speak for him. Below, Changyang Ba and the elderly members of the clan all became extremely furious when they saw Uncle Chang being abused. If they possessed the strength, they would definitely charge up and cut the people cursing at Uncle Chang into pieces. Although Uncle Chang was only the caretaker of the Changyang clan, his status in the clan was extremely great, not to mention the fact that he was now a saint ruler and no longer a heaven saint master. His status had risen yet again because of that. These people have gone too far by abusing Uncle Chang like this. It's a pity that Xiang'er's not present, or these people would have gotten more than they bargained for today. Changyang Ba said through gritted teeth. He had paled from his anger. Beside him, Bai Yuntian, Yu Fengyan, Ling Long and Bai Yushuang were the same as him. Uncle Chang had been the caretaker of the clan for several centuries now. He cared for every single member of the clan very much. He diligently dealt with all the miscellaneous matters of the clan as the caretaker and never complained, which was why no one could rival his prestige within the clan. Everyone loved him. And after becoming a saint ruler, he maintained his position as caretaker, basically becoming the first saint ruler caretaker on the entire continent. He did not change at all with his increase in strength. Thus, the people from the clan held even more respect and loved him even more. As a result, virtually everyone in the clan had become angered by the Yuan and Qing branches' words. Only the people of the Zhu branch remained the same since they did not have close ties with Uncle Chang. The saint ruler ancestors of the Zhu branch don't seem to be willing to speak for Uncle Chang. We're outnumbered, so I hope nothing happens to Uncle Chang, Bai Yuntian said with some worry. She was very worried about Uncle Chang's safety. Although he was a saint ruler now, he was only at the first heavenly layer. A sliver of determination immediately appeared in Changyang Ba's eyes with that. With a flip of his hand, he pulled out 2 fist-sized rocks from his space ring and said through gritted teeth, I have the quaking thunders that Xianger left behind. Xianger said that these quaking thunders have been charged by Saint Kings. Although they might not harm Saint Kings, they are more than enough to deal with saint rulers. If they dare to touch Uncle Chang, then I'll do it. In the sky, Chang Wuji kept his cool as if he did not hear the insults at all. He said, Correct, I was indeed picked off the streets by Master, and I was taken to the Protector clan. If you want to call me a dog, then I only have one master and that is Changyang Zhu Yunkong. This has nothing to do with you people of the Yuan and Qing branches. The saint ruler from the Qing branch became utterly furious with that. He yelled out, How dare you speak like that to us as a mere dog? I, Changyang Qing Shan, said that if a dog dares to bite his master, the master can make the dog disappear forever. Changyang Qing Shan immediately attacked Chang Wuji. He used his abilities as a saint ruler and fused with the surrounding space, appearing before Chang Wuji in a single moment through the use of spatial force. Energy surged in his hand as he used a secret technique to condense a small, green mountain, sending it toward Chang Wuji. The faces of the saint rulers from the Zhu branch hardened when they saw this green mountain. They recognized that this was Changyang Qing Shan's famed technique, the Seal of the Green Mountain. The Seal of the Green Mountain was an adaptation of an ancient secret technique by Changyang Qing Shan. It was not a saint-tier battle skill, but it was not weaker than one. Changyang Qing Shan used his power as a 7th heavenly layer saint ruler to cast the Seal of the Green Mountain. Chang Wuji would end up extremely injured, if not dead, if he was struck by it with his strength at the 1st heavenly layer. A saint ruler from the Zhu branch immediately wanted to stop Changyang Qing Shan. Although he was not close to Chang Wuji at all, he could not just watch him lose his life. However, the people from the Qing and Yuan branches seemed to have been prepared. They all moved and stopped the saint rulers from the Zhu branch, preventing them from interfering. Chang Wuji's face changed. He had never expected Changyang Qing Shan to attack him in such a brazen fashion. He was also a saint ruler now, but he understood just how much weaker he was. He dared not to accept the attack head-on and dodged as fast as he could. However, the space around him suddenly froze, immobilizing him and causing him to pause. Chang Wuji sank inside. He immediately bellowed out as powerful energy surged out of him, shattering the frozen space. However, he lost the perfect opportunity to dodge with the delay. All he could do was cast a bar of energy around him and allow the attack to hit that. Bang! The seal viciously struck his chest, and with a heavy sound, blood spurted into the air from Chang Wuji's mouth. He was thrown far away. Uncle Chang! The people in the Changyang clan all cried out. Changyang Ba was absolutely furious. At that moment, an extremely powerful killing intent rapidly rose up in Changyang Ba, filling his entire chest. Without any hesitation, he threw his 2 15th star quaking thunders at Changyang Qing Shan. Changyang Ba dismissed all his thoughts. He did not think about the consequences that the 2 quaking thunders could cause at all. He only had one thought in mind, and that was to avenge Uncle Chang. Quaking thunders originated from the Sea Realm, but a few of them would make their way to the Tianyuan continent, so all the saint rulers recognized what they were. They immediately revealed different expressions and dodged in all directions, moving away from the quaking thunders as quickly as possible. The saint rulers from the Zhu branch all landed in the clan, and one of them charged into the back courtyard as quickly as possible. Shortly afterward, a transparent barrier silently appeared, engulfing the entire clan. This was a barrier that Changyang Zhu Shao had secretly cast down. Only the saint rulers of the Zhu branch knew of its existence. Even Changyang Ba hadn't been told about it. Chapter 13-17, Family Conflict 3. Changyang Ba returned to his senses after throwing the quaking thunders. His face immediately changed as he muttered inside, "Oh no!" This was because the two quaking thunders he had thrown were of the 15th star, equivalent to strikes from 4th heavenly layer Saint Kings. Attacks from Saint Kings were terrifying. Even if they exploded several hundred meters in the sky, the ripples could still flatten the entire Changyang clan. After all, the Changyang clan was not a capital city of the continent, let alone Flame City. It was an extremely ordinary clan, so it was unable to defend itself at all. However, Changyang Ba finally calmed down a little when he saw the transparent barrier being erected in the air. There were around a dozen saint rulers from the Zhu branch around as well. If they cast down a barrier together, it might not have been able to stop the ripples of the quaking thunders entirely, but it could minimize the damage. The extremely powerful ripples of energy from the two quaking thunders followed after Changyang Qingyun, while all the saint rulers of the two branches fled frantically. All of them had become ghastly pale from fright, because they could tell that these two quaking thunders were of the 15th star from the energy inside. Once they erupted, they would be equivalent to an attack from a first heavenly layer Saint King at the very least. They could even be more powerful. The saint rulers of the two branches fled from the quaking thunders as quickly as possible. None of them wanted to come into contact with them, and Changyang Qingshan was no exception either. He quickly shot back with a pale face. He was both surprised and angered. He was surprised over how such a weak person in the Changyang clan possessed a high-quality quaking thunder, and he was angered over the fact that a mere branch clan member dared to throw a quaking thunder at him, an elder of the Protector clan. That was an unforgivable offense. However, Changyang Qingyun dismissed all his thoughts very quickly. His gaze became horrified and filled with fear. He had discovered that the two quaking thunders had locked onto his presence. They had been tailing behind him the entire time. No matter how he fled, it was useless, and the energy within the quaking thunders was rapidly beginning to activate, so they moved faster and faster. "No!" Changyang Qingshan yelled in fright as he became horrendously pale. He could at least survive, albeit half alive, against just a single 15th star quaking thunder, but it was extremely likely that he would die if he had to take on two quaking thunders at the same time. Suddenly, Changyang Qingyun changed directions and flew in the direction with the most people. The two quaking thunders began to shine with bright, white lights as they tailed behind him with terrifying pulses of energy. They moved faster and faster. "Changyang Qingyun, you bastard. Don't follow us. Go somewhere else. Fuck. Changyang Qingyun, we've never offended you, so don't draw them over here." The saint rulers from the two branches were exasperated. They all cursed his ancestors as they desperately scattered. Changyang Qingyun was bitter. He had only punished a rude person. He had never thought that that punishment would end with him being pursued by two 15th star quaking thunders. If he had known this earlier, he would have never laid his hands on Chang Wuji even if he was a much bolder person. "The quaking thunders have locked onto my presence, so I can't shake them off. If you don't help me block them, I'll probably die here today," Changyang Qingyun explained as he secretly rejoiced inside. It was fortunate that the person who had thrown the quaking thunders was not strong, so their initial velocity was slow, which was why he was able to flee for so long despite being pursued by these quaking thunders. However, as the energy within them was activated, their speed would increase as well. At that time, even Saint Kings would not be able to avoid even one of them, let alone him, a mere saint ruler. Changyang Qing halted and cried out, "Don't panic, everyone. We have over 30 saint rulers with us. Let's work together to stop the two quaking thunders. Everyone gather near me immediately." Everyone's eyes immediately lit up. If a single person were to attempt to stop the quaking thunders, it would indeed be extremely dangerous, but if they all worked together, these two 15th-star quaking thunders were not so terrifying anymore. All the saint rulers began to gather near Changyang Qingyu at almost the same time. They all created a powerful barrier of energy as Changyang Qingshan charged over with the two quaking thunders. The quaking thunders collided with the barrier, and they exploded simultaneously. The explosion produced a deafening boom as violent streams of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, causing space to twist and crack. A powerful ripple of energy shot down, but it was stopped by the barrier Changyang Zhu Shao had cast down, allowing the Changyang clan to safely endure. All the saint rulers from the two branches displayed various complexions and became rather pale. The barrier they had created together had collapsed. They had all cast down another barrier around themselves as quickly as possible, before retreating from the surge of energy that the quaking thunders had released. Changyang Qingshan was the most miserable. The quaking thunders had locked onto his presence, so he suffered the heaviest attack. Blood sprayed from his mouth as he shot off like a broken kite. He constantly spat out blood. He managed to stay alive, but he was very severely injured. The two quaking thunder expanded across a very large area, so most of Lore City was affected. Countless structures collapsed, reducing the entire city to a mess. There were a lot of people who became injured, but fortunately, many people in the city knew that things were going to happen in the Changyang clan, so they had all made preparations, and thus, no one died. A while later, the ripples of energy from the quaking thunders finally settled. The Changyang clan below emerged undamaged while the saint rulers from the Qing and Yuan branches gathered together in the air. They were dirty and in horrible conditions. Changyang Qingshan had lost his ability to levitate due to his injuries, so he was carried by two other saint rulers from the Qing branch. They were all sheet white. They had set out with such a large party to regain their lost dignity, to vent their unhappiness from being trapped for so long, and to get the people from the Zhu branch to return to the clan. They had never thought that they would get more than they bargained for. Changyang Ba finally let out a breath of relief after seeing that the Changyang clan was fine. He pulled out another two quaking thunders from his space ring and furiously roared at the group of people in the sky. "I have quite a few quaking thunders here. Those two before were 15th-star ones. I'm holding 16th-star quaking thunders in my hands right now. If you want to act so brazenly, I won't be holding back." Not only did they insult Uncle Chang, they've injured him as well. "We cannot spare them today," Bai Yuntian furiously added and also pulled out two 16th-star quaking thunders from her space ring. They were also of the 16th star. Jian Chen had obtained quite a few 15th and 16th star quaking thunders from the Sea Realm, several at the peak of the 16th star. He had basically left all of them with his family. The people from the Qing and Yuan branches revealed extremely ugly expressions when they saw Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian pull out four 16th-star quaking thunders. Even the saint rulers from the Zhu branch leaped in fright with a shiver. Even in the Sea Realm, 16th-star quaking thunders were extremely rare, so why were there so many here? The saint rulers from the two branches became rather offended and embarrassed. This was definitely an unprecedented matter. A mighty protector clan was being threatened by a mere branch clan. If this was broadcasted, they would no longer possess the dignity to see anyone in the future. Changyang Qingyi's complexion became terrifyingly pale. He stared coldly at the group of people below and icily said, "This matter will never end after injuring an elder of our Qing branch. We can't do anything to you, but there will obviously be someone who can." With that, Changyang Qingyi formed a seal with his two hands. He used a secret message to communicate what had happened here to Changyang Qingyun. The protector clans possessed many secret techniques, and there were plenty that had been made for communication. What Changyang Qin used was soul communication. The technique allowed someone to send a message to the soul of another person. The only flaw was that the process was rather complicated. Chapter 13:18 Family conflict 4. Many saint kings and a few saint emperors hovered above the ruins of Mercenary City. They paid close attention to the underground tunnel, waiting for any changes to occur. Several dozen divine halls hovered nearby and radiated with vast presences. Above Mercenary City, the 10 protector clans and a few powerful ancient clans had all mobilized their divine halls. They rested inside to gather strength so that they be in peak condition. None of them knew when the next attack from the world of Forsaken Saints would come, but all of them believed that the attack would definitely be even more terrifying than before, where even saint emperors might appear. They all became extremely heavy-hearted because of this, and they were not in the mood to enter the miniature world of Mercenary City either, since they just worried far too much. Not every saint king there was selfless, but they all understood one thing, which was that the world of Forsaken Saints was just far too powerful. If they could not stop them from entering this world, the 4 races would all suffer the threat of completely dying off. At that time, they would not be able to avoid death themselves either. As a result, many of the saint kings from the 4 races had gathered to guard the tunnel, not for their own race or for their descendants, but for themselves. In one of the divine halls floating in the sky, Changyang Qing Yun, Changyang Qing Juri, Changyang Qing Yunfeng, Changyang Yuan Jinghua, and Changyang Yuan Wuji sat together like statues. Suddenly, Changyang Qing Yun's face twitched as his eyes snapped open. Immediately, his eyes shone with an almost visible light, disturbing the space in front of him and causing it to twist slightly. The 4 other great elders simultaneously opened their eyes. They had been cultivating, but they paid attention to the outside world at all times. They obviously sensed the change that occurred within Changyang Qing Yun. Changyang Qing Yun stood up as his face darkened in a terrifying manner. He said, "Changyang Qing Shan has been injured. The saint rulers from our Qing and Yuan branches have been humiliated by the branch clan in Lore City. They've gone too far. Do they really think they can abuse our protector clan in such a fearless manner just because they have the protection of the 3 magical beasts?" Changyang Qing Yun looked around at the 4 other great elders and growled, "Let's go to Lore City of the Jessen Kingdom immediately." Changyang Qing put the divine hall away before leaving with the 4 other saint kings. Although their departure had alerted everyone present, no one stepped forward to stop them, because none of the saint kings present had the right to meddle with other people's business. At the same time, Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao, and Changyang Zhu Yeyun sat together in another divine hall in the same manner. Suddenly, Changyang Zhu Xiao slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was deep as he looked in the direction that Changyang Qing Yun and the others had set off in. He slowly said, "The people of the clan have sent me a message. The people of the Qing and Yuan branches have created quite a mess in Lore City. Changyang Qing Yun and the others have just departed as well, so they're probably going to Lore City. Let's go back and have a look as well. I've cast a barrier to protect the clan, but it won't be enough to stop Changyang Qing Yun." Lore City was over 1,000,000 kilometers away from Mercenary City, but Saint Kings only needed a single instant to traverse this distance. A space gate ripped open near the city soon after Changyang Qing Yi had sent the message. A tremendous presence wildly surged out before anyone could emerge from it, causing the space there to freeze. Even the surrounding energy of the world fell silent. Afterward, the 5 great elders emerged from the space gate with Changyang Qing Yun at the lead. When they saw the saint rulers from the 2 branches in horrible conditions, their faces immediately sank. Sharp killing intent filled their eyes. They then saw the bloodied Changyang Qing Yun, who was basically hanging off 2 other saint ruler, and they became even more enraged. How dare they? They're just a mere branch clan, yet they dared to injure an elder of my Qing branch. Changyang Qing Yun immediately fell into an utter rage as he roared out, causing the energy around him to churn. He had almost snapped. Changyang Qing Yun arrived before Changyang Qing Shan with a single flash and carefully examined his wounds. His complexion became even more ugly and he growled, "Qing Shan's extremely heavily injured. He's basically clinging onto half of his life. He'll need several years to achieve a full recovery even with the wondrous medicines in the clan." This branch clan is getting bolder and bolder. Before that mongrel, Jian Chen, worked with foreigners to seal up the Changyang clan, And we only broke out in the end because the Grand Elder of Mercenary City stepped in. Now, the people of this branch clan dare to beat Qing Shan into such a shape. They cannot be forgiven. I will be flattening this place today. Changyang Qingjuri coldly decided. His gaze toward the clan was filled with heavy killing intent. He then pushed his hand toward the structures below. Changyang Qingjuri's attack drew in vast amounts of energy from the surroundings. The invisible energy gathered in his hand before forming a palm several hundred meters in length. It fell toward the ground at an extremely fast rate. The people from the Changyang clan became rather pale. As the palm fell, they all felt an extremely great pressure descend from above, limiting their breathing and causing their chests to feel abnormally tight. A saint ruler from the Zhu branch immediately activated the barrier in the forbidden grounds of the clan. A transparent barrier silently appeared, blocking Changyang Qingjuri's attack. It did not waver at all as it shone with hazy light. Changyang Qingjuri's attack actually failed to shake it at all. Changyang Qingyun coldly sneered and took a step forward. He appeared before the barrier as if he had teleported and coldly said, "I never thought that Changyang Zushao would treat this clan with some importance, seeing how he cast down such a powerful barrier to protect this place. Looks like he's truly reached great perfection now, but a mere barrier is not enough to stop me. Let me smash through this barrier." Changyang Qingyun's face became filled with heavy killing intent. He hated Changyang Zushao very much. If Changyang Zushao had not stopped him back in the miniature world of the Changyang clan, he would have obtained the saint's fruit long ago and would probably have become a saint emperor right now. Jian Chen would not have been able to escape either, let alone returning with the magical beasts to seal up the clan. Right now, Changyang Qingyun had completely made up his mind to destroy this place, so he could vent his anger. It was a sensitive period of time with the invasion of the other world, so he did not fear the three magical beasts if they personally came, since there would be other people who would appear to stop them. Just when Changyang Qingyun wanted to start his attack, another space gate ripped open nearby. Changyang Zushao, Changyang Zuyunshao, and Changyang Zuyun had all hurried back from Mercenary City. Changyang Qingyun, do you still plan to be obstinate and make another foolish mistake? Changyang Zushao immediately bellowed out when he realized Changyang Qingyun's intentions. He arrived in front of Changyang Qingyun with a flash to stop him from destroying the barrier. Chapter 1319, Family Conflict, 5. Changyang Zushao blocked Changyang Qingyun, and as a result, Changyang Qingyun's face immediately darkened. His expression sank as he glared at Changyang Zushao. He had never expected him to arrive so quickly, and now that Changyang Zushao was present to stop him, it would not longer be as easy for him to viciously punish the members of the branch clan. Okay, good. Very well. Changyang Zushao, your clansmen of the Zhu branch are getting bolder and more fearless. First you declared you would depart from the Protector clan, then you work with foreigners to seal up the clan, and now you've allowed a member of the Zhu branch to injure an elder of the Qing branch, heavily wounding Changyang Qingshan. Do you really think that you can now look down on everyone else just because you have the magical beasts on your side and that you can provoke the dignity of our Protector clan time and time again? Changyang Qingyun coldly questioned. A tremendous presence began to radiate from him as he spoke, forming an invisible mountain that crashed down on Changyang Zushao. He showed signs that he was about to engage in a great battle with Changyang Zushao. Changyang Zushao's face remained the same. He stood there unmoving, like an ancient tree rooted firmly to the ground. He had truly reached great perfection now, having reached the apex of Saint King. He was at the same level as Changyang Qingyun now. Qingyun, we all know exactly what happened, so quit spouting lies. You asked for everything that happened before. If you didn't lust over the saint's fruit and attempt something so condemning, would any of those things have happened later on? I'd like to ask you instead, why has Changyang Qingyun become injured? Why have your people of the Qing and Yuan branches appeared here? Changyang Zushao emotionlessly replied. He was very disappointed by the actions of the two branches. Great elders, we have appeared here because we wanted the people of the Zhu branch to return to our Protector clan. Although our clan is divided into 3 branches, we were all connected with one another. We were one big family, So if we split just like this, it will enact a heavy loss on the clan. Our generation would become eternally condemned. How would we be able to face our ancestors after we pass away? We never thought that we would be provoked by a mere servant right when we arrived here, which Qing Shan was then heavily injured by a quaking thunder from a member of the branch clan. If we hadn't interfered, we would have never been able to see Qing Shan again, Changyang Qingyi said. He spoke in a righteous manner in the beginning, before immediately becoming sorrowful when he mentioned Changyang Qing Shan. He blamed the people from the branch clan. Cut the bullshit, it was you who injured Uncle Chang first, Changyang Ba loudly retorted. He was extremely confident. Although the great elders of the two other factions were present, he felt no fear at all. At this moment, Chang Wuji flew over from afar in a tottering manner. He was covered with blood and his face was pale. His injuries were just as heavy, almost falling mid-flight several times. Uncle Chang. The group of people in the clan cried out in both sorrow and joy. They felt sorrow for Uncle Chang's injuries, but they were joyful over the fact that he was still alive. Changyang Zhu Shao waved his hand and a vast amount of energy in the surroundings immediately gathered, gently wrapping around Chang Wuji and delivering him into the clan. He gently said, "Heal first. With me here, no one will be able to harm a single one of you." Although Changyang Zhu Shao spoke very softly, his voice was filled with dominance, causing Changyang Qingyun's complexion to become extremely horrible. Chang Wuji politely bowed to Changyang Zhu Shao before immediately sitting down to heal. Bai Yuntian began to use her abilities as a radiant saint master beside him, but since her class was not high, the effects were not as obvious on a saint ruler like Chang Wuji. Changyang Ba also shoveled large amounts of radiant spirit pills into his mouth from his space ring, immediately causing him to be enveloped by a thick layer of radiant saint force. They were Class 6 radiant spirit pills. Jian Chen had made a large box of them before and had given them all to his family. "You've already injured Changyang Qing Shan regardless of everything. Changyang Zhu Shao, you have to give me an explanation today, or I swear that I will not step down over this matter," Changyang Qingyun coldly responded. He did not give in at all. The Protector clan had been humiliated and this could not continue. Otherwise, they would not even be able to show themselves before the other organizations of the continent. "Changyang Qingyun, I don't fear you. You may have more Saint Kings than us, but if we do end up fighting, we'll both suffer heavy casualties. Leave and never come back," said Changyang Zhu Shao nonchalantly, but his words became exceptionally unpleasant when Changyang Qingyun heard them. Not only was it a threat, he was looking down on them. Changyang Qingyun became utterly furious and his hair began to wildly dance about, like an angered lion. He laughed aloud. "Heavy casualties? Changyang Zhu Shao, aren't you overestimating us a little too much? I'll show you exactly how I will defeat your clansmen of the Zhu branch today." Changyang Qingyun immediately departed through a space gate after his sarcastic remarks. Several Emperor armaments were stabbed into the ground in Mercenary City. They were of all different shapes and sizes, but all of them radiated with a pressing presence without any exceptions, enough to cause Saint Kings to shiver inside. The Emperor armaments were all clan treasures of the Protector clans. They had placed them there without any fear of them being stolen since the weapons could only be controlled by a member of the clan. Changyang Qingyun returned to Mercenary City in a mighty manner and used a secret technique to draw the Emperor armament of the Changyang clan. Afterward, he departed through another space gate, alerting all the Saint Kings and causing them to glance over. What is Changyang Qingyun doing? Has something happened with how furious he seems? The Grand Elder of Mercenary City muttered in doubt. Many people had similar thoughts. As that all happened, Changyang Zhu Yunkong sat within a mountain in a vast mountain range far away. The powerful and pure energy around him pulsed, causing the surrounding space to gently tremble. Changyang Zhu Yunkong's figure distorted in and out of obscurity within the cave. This was not only because of the distortions in the surrounding space, but he had also truly fused with the space there, becoming one with it. His comprehension over the mysterious of the world and his grasp over spatial force had reached a completely new level. It was undergoing a qualitative metamorphosis. Chapter 1320, Yun Kong becomes a saint. King Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong's talent was extremely great, but it had been sealed up by the great elders of the Changyang clan together, preventing him from ever reaching sainthood. But even with that being the case, the breakthrough occurred uncontrollably several times back on Three Saint Island, conflicting with the seal in his head and torturing him in an excruciating fashion. If it were not for the heavenly enchantress' matchless accomplishments in the way of the zither that allowed her to send him into a slumber, he would have passed away long ago. Afterward, the seal in his head was removed because of Jianqin. With his talent, his cultivation immediately surged. Coupled with Xiao Ling's assistance in personally invoking the mysteries of the world, the mysteries were presented in the clearest fashion possible right in front of him, allowing his strength to skyrocket. It increased at an unbelievable rate, allowing him to reach the peak of Saint Ruler after only recently becoming one a few short years ago. Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong sat in the cave like an old monk in meditation. He was solemn and showed no other emotions. The space around him rippled in an even more unstable manner like water, while powerful energy surged from his body from time to time, causing the ground to crack like a web. Not only was Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong's comprehension of the mysteries of the world deepening with every moment, undergoing a qualitative metamorphosis, even the energy within him was strengthening, becoming more and more powerful and pure. Suddenly, the distorted space around him stopped, and even the energy within him stabilized. At that moment, everything calmed down and his surroundings fell silent, as if the entire world had descended into silence in that single moment. It also seemed like time had stopped while the energy of the world around him stopped flowing as well. The odd situation lasted for a short while. Suddenly, a tremendous presence began to radiate from Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong, sweeping out like a storm and engulfing the entire mountain range. At the same time, an even more tremendous presence erupted from Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong. Like a flash flood, it violently surged out in all directions. Boom! The mountain Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong was residing in erupted, disintegrating into rocks that splayed out in all directions. He remained floating at the same altitude in the same sitting posture as the energy erupted from him uncontrollably, wreaking havoc on the surroundings. At that moment, the calm skies suddenly began to churn. The energy surged into the sky like a flood, obliterating the layer of clouds above. Soon afterward, a layer of rainbow clouds silently appeared in the sky. They shone with a colorful and beautiful light, illuminating the entire region. They were 7-colored rainbow clouds, and they silently expanded in all directions. They engulfed a radius of several 100,000 kilometers, making all the saint rulers in that area envious and eager. This was because they all knew that this was the sign of a 9th heavenly layer Saint Ruler breaking through to Saint King. Reaching Saint King did not only mean an increase in strength, elevating the person to the apex of the continent, it also meant an increase in longevity. Saint Rulers only possessed a lifespan of 3,000 years, and even with heavenly resources, they could only live for an additional 200 years at most. However, reaching Saint King would directly increase one's lifespan to 6,000 years. From 2 other regions within the mountain range, Huang Tianba and Yang Ling emerged from cultivation. They both looked up at the sky. Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong's talent really is terrifying. A few years ago, he was nowhere near as strong as me, yet he's reached Saint King before me, Huang Tianba mumbled emotionally. He faintly smiled because of the joy he felt knowing Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong was becoming a Saint King. I need to work hard as well. My talent may not be as impressive as Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong, but I can't fall too far behind, or that's just far too embarrassing, Huang Tianba then said. He was also at the 9th heavenly layer right now, only requiring a final step to break through. On the other side, Yang Ling stared at the rainbow clouds in the sky with mixed emotions. He could still clearly remember that when he was cultivating with Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong back in Mercenary City. Changyang Zhu. Yun Kong was only a saint ruler of the 1st heavenly layer, yet he had already become a Saint King after so little time. On the other hand, his strength had not increased at all. He remained a 6th cycle heaven Saint Master. My talent is horrible. The young master has given me such a great opportunity, yet I've still failed to reach Saint Ruler. I've really failed to live up to his wishes. There's no chance I will reach Saint King in this life, Yang Ling gently sighed. He became rather dejected. All fighters wished to see themselves become even more powerful. Changyang Zhu Yunkong was only several tens of thousand kilometers from Mercenary City, so the rainbow clouds obviously reached there. However, there were already 2,000 Saint Kings from various races that had gathered there, and there were even a few Saint Emperors. The breakthrough obviously did not catch the attention of many people. Back at the Changyang clan, Changyang Qingyun's sudden departure made a lot of people sigh in relief. The people who had no idea what was happening thought that Changyang Qinyun had permanently left and started to secretly praise Changyang Zhu Zhao's might since he had driven away an enemy as soon as he arrived. Only Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao, and Changyang Zhu Yun remained with very pale faces. They had already thought of some things that might end up happening after hearing what Changyang Qinyun had said before he left. Before they could delve into the matter, a space gate ripped open again and Changyang Qinyun emerged. He had arrived with an Emperor armament that was over 20 meters in length in his hands. The Emperor armament immediately radiated with a powerful might as soon as it appeared. Its presence swept through the surroundings and made everyone shiver. Just the appearance of the Emperor armament, without even displaying its powers, had caused the surrounding space to ripple, as if it were going to shatter at any moment. Changyang Qinyun stood where the hilt of the sword was and held onto it with both of his hands. His hair and clothes were ruffled despite the windless sky as a tremendous ripple of energy radiated from him. He was currently using his full strength to stabilize the Emperor armament. The four other great elders simultaneously charged over, joining with Changyang Qinyun to control the Emperor armament together. The ancestral weapon of a protector clan was just far too powerful. Even Saint Kings at great perfection would struggle to control it by themselves. They needed several people to work together. Changyang Zhu Xiao, I'd like to see how you will block the Emperor armament. Do you really think your Zhu branch has the ability to achieve mutual defeat? Changyang Qinyun laughed at the sky. He was already confident he would achieve victory now that this weapon was in his hands. The three Saint Kings of the Zhu branch became extremely ugly. Even the Saint rulers beneath looked the same. Changyang Qinyun, I never thought you'd become so mad that you'd use the Emperor armament against us. Have you forgotten the ancestral teachings? They've clearly recorded that the protector clans can only use the Emperor armaments when the continent faces a severe threat or when the protector clan is facing a life or death situation. Changyang Zhu Xiao cried out in a heavy voice as his expression became extremely horrible. Chapter 1321, Yang Lai, 1. Since ancient times, we three branches have always been one big family. We've gone through countless eras like that, but your Zhu branch wants to leave and create their own clan. The descendant of the branch clan, Changyang Zhu Xiangtian, has even worked with foreigners against the clan, sealing us within our miniature world. This is treachery. If we give you some more time, you'll become even bolder, and you'll probably do things that are even more outrageous. You may even try replace us as a protector clan, Changyang Qinyun coldly replied. He had not only come to the Changyang clan to deal with the conflict that had erupted between the three branches, but he had also come to vent his suppressed anger as well. When the five great elders and the various clansmen had been trapped in the miniature world, they had accumulated an incredible amount of anger and hatred. Basically, all five great elders pondered over how they would take revenge on the people of the Zhu branch while they were trapped in there. It was just that they had quickly been invited to Mercenary City due to the world of Forsaken Saints when the new Grand Elder of Mercenary City had come with over 20 other Saint Kings to smash through the seal, so they had to delay the day they would take revenge. Now that the conflict between the branches had occurred, the great elders obviously obtained the opportunity to take revenge as well as gained a reason to do so this time. Changyang Qinyun, so much for being a great elder of a protector clan. You actually have no conscience. You clearly wanted to take the saint's fruit from Xiangtian to become a saint emperor, yet you keep making up excuses to make it more confusing. Wasn't the reason why our protector clan became like this all because of your greed? Changyang Zhu Yunxiao responded with a heavy voice. His voice was filled with anger. Changyang Qinyun did not become flushed from embarrassment. Instead, he rebuked righteously, "Have you forgotten about the rules of the protector clans? The rules clearly state that all descendants of the clan must treat the clan as top priority. As a member of the clan, Changyang Zhu Xiangtian obviously has to abide to the rules. It's an extremely big deal that he obtained the saint's fruit, so he obviously has to hand it over." Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zhu Yun Xiao, and Changyang Zhu Yun became extremely furious. They had never thought that Changyang Qing Yun would have already turned into a person like this. He seemed like a completely new person compared to before. Changyang Qing Yun had never been like this before. However, the temptation of becoming a saint emperor was just far too much. When Jianchen brought the saint's fruit back to the clan, Changyang Qing Yun technically had the right to consume it as the most powerful person in the clan, but to everyone's surprise, Jianchen refused to hand it over no matter what. In the end, Changyang Qing Yun missed this close opportunity of becoming a saint emperor and was trapped in the clan for a period of time as well. The two matters had a massive impact, which was why he had changed. After all, the saint's fruit had become the only chance at becoming a saint emperor in this age. There were no saint kings who could resist such a great urge. Even Changyang Zhu Yunxiao and Changyang Zhu Xiao felt themselves waver in front of it in the past, but they did not lose themselves like Changyang Qing Yun and act crazy. The saint's fruit was obtained by Xiangtian with the assistance of the three magical beasts, and they even stopped the scheme of the saint emperors from the beast god continent in the end. If it weren't for the three of them, the saint's fruit probably would have been taken by the saint emperors even if it ended up in your hands. As a result, the saint's fruit does not completely belong to Xiangtian, and the clan obviously has no right to take it away. Changyang Zhu Xiao calmly berated. Changyang Zhu Xiao, cut the bullshit. If you hadn't stopped me before, I would have become a saint emperor already. I will make you pay for what you did back then. Changyang Qing Yun bellowed out as madness filled his eyes. He began to control the emperor armament with the four other great elders. Immediately, a terrifying ripple of energy radiated from the emperor armament, enough to make the surroundings tremble. It caused the space around it to burst with a single moment, causing cracks to form around the emperor armament, before finally collapsing entirely. The emperor armament was just far too powerful, and the space of the world was not as tough as the space within the miniature world of the protector clans. It lacked the stabilization of the 18 divine halls as well, so the space shattered as soon as the emperor armament was activated. From today on, the Changyang clan will cease to exist here. Changyang Qing Yun laughed aloud as the emperor armament was swung at the residences below in attempt to obliterate them. The Changyang clan was only a cluster of extremely ordinary buildings. Changyang Zhu Xiao had cast down a protective barrier, but the barrier was insignificant before the emperor armament. It was completely useless. Within the clan, all the people paled. Even Changyang Ba by Yun Tian and the saint rulers of the Zhu branch became very nervous. The terrifying presence of the emperor armament had locked onto everyone below, crushing them like it was mountain. They could not avoid it at all. The weaker guards and servants of the clan all fell unconscious while blood leaked from the corner of their mouths. Their organs had been injured by the pressure of the emperor armament. Changyang Ba by Yun Tian and a few other important figures of the clan were protected by the saint rulers, so the pressure they felt was not as great. In the sky, Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao, and Changyang Zhu Yun abruptly revealed different expressions. If they let the emperor armament fall, it would probably not just be the Changyang clan that would be annihilated. Even this large city with a population of a few million people would vanish. Reaching Saint Ruler would activate the limit of celestial decay, preventing someone so powerful from committing monstrous sins. If over 1 million people were slain in a single moment, celestial decay would immediately descend, reducing the attacker into a pile of bones no matter how powerful they were. The three Saint Kings immediately began to use a secret technique to interfere with the Great Elder's control over the Emperor armament. The Emperor armament could only be controlled with a corresponding secret technique, and only those who had reached Saint King could learn it. They were Saint Kings, so they knew it. Control over the Emperor armament was greatly disturbed as terrifying energy began to violently pulse out. The sword surged with light, alternating between being dim and being bright. Even its motion came to a halt. Changyang Zhu Shao, don't you dare take control of the Emperor armament. Changyang Qin Yun bellowed and began to use all he had. Even the 4 other Saint Kings were the same. The Emperor armament violently trembled in the air as energy surged within them in extremely unstable manner. The 3 Saint Kings of the Zhu branch were currently locked in a fight with the 5 Saint Kings from the Yuan and Qing branches, a fight of secret techniques, trying to wrestle away the control of the Emperor armament. Spurt! Changyang Zhu Shao and the other 2 vomited a mouthful of blood as their faces paled in a single moment. Soon after, the 5 other Saint Kings vomited a mouthful of blood as well while their faces became sheet white, without a shred of blood. Both sides suffered the backlash from the Emperor armament, becoming heavily injured. However, they still did not give up, continuing to fight for control. They all knew that the side that gained control would gain the upper hand. Chapter 1322, Yang Lai, 2. At this moment, the Emperor armament suddenly resonated at a clear pitch. The sound lasted for an extremely long time, and it filled the surroundings. However, the facial expressions of the great elders of the Changyang clan hardened when they heard the noise because the Emperor armament had never produced a sound like that before. It was clearly extremely unusual. But before they could think about anything more, a powerful force suddenly erupted from the Emperor armament like a tsunami. It shattered the space in the surrounding several dozen meters, reducing it to darkness. Changyang Zhu Shao, Changyang Zhu Yunshao, Changyang Zhu Yiyun, and even the 5 Saint Kings from the other 2 branches vomited blood at the same time. They became extremely heavily injured from the force that had suddenly erupted and were all sent flying back. Every single one of them became haggard as shock filled their eyes. They stared at the Emperor armament in disbelief. They had suffered from the backlash of the Emperor armament, but it was much more severe than any time in the past. After stabilizing themselves, all of them used the secret technique as quickly as possible to control the Emperor armament. This was where victory lay. But their faces all displayed their surprise because none of them could regain control over the Emperor armament through the secret techniques. The weapon had completely broken free from their control. All 8 Saint Kings revealed ugly expressions. It was an extremely terrifying matter for the Emperor armament to have broken free. The huge Emperor armament hung in the sky and constantly trembled. It erupted with pulses of terrifying energy as it continued to resonate. The resonating pitch was clear and ear-piercing, like the cry of the Emperor armament. Suddenly, the Emperor armament shot off as a streak of light. It was lightning fast and vanished beyond the horizon in the blink of an eye. Wherever it passed, the space cracked into fragments while its terrifying pressure caused the entire Earth to shake. Oh no, the Emperor armament's flown away. We can't afford to lose it. It's our ancestral weapon. Chase it? Changyang Qin Yun was surprised. He no longer paid any attention to the wounds on his body and immediately chased after it as quickly as he could. The other Saint Kings from the Qing and Yuan branches did not hesitate either. They tailed behind Changyang Qin Yun. They fused with the surrounding space. Using spatial force to travel, they moved at a lightning-fast speed. The Emperor armament would affect the stability of the space it passed through, making it impossible for them to create space gates. At the same time, they had no idea where the Emperor armament was flying off to, so space gates were unsuitable as well. They could only fly. Yeyun, you stay here. Yunshao, let's go check it out. Changyang Zhu Shao looked back and gave an order to the couple before hurrying off with Changyang Zhu Yunshao. The Emperor armament crossed many mountains and rivers, traversing several 100,000 kilometers at an unbelievable speed. In the end, it entered a desolate mountain range. The Saint Kings behind it were nowhere to be seen even with their speed. The rainbow clouds in the sky still loomed over the mountain range. Changyang Zhu Yunkong sat in the middle of the air as he stabilized his own level of cultivation while Huang Tianba stood on a mountain peak several kilometers away to watch over him. At this moment, a terrifying ripple of energy appeared far away, causing the space to constantly shake. The space in the distance had even shattered, turning into darkness. Huang Tianba's face changed as he gazed at that area in interest. His face became extremely stern. The energy ripples were extremely terrifying and powerful. They made him shiver. A streak of light shot into the mountain range, heading for Changyang Zhu Yunkong. It moved far too quickly. It was on the horizon the moment before, yet it had arrived before Changyang Zhu Yunkong by the next. Huang Tianba failed to react to it at all. It was a sword that was 20 to 30 meters long. Its design was simple, but it gave off a terrifying presence as tremendous energy surged from it, causing the surrounding space to ripple. Huang Tianba sighed a breath of relief. He could already tell that the sword that had randomly flown over would not harm Changyang Zhu Yunkong. Instead, it just hovered above his head, resonating at a lengthy pitch. Huang Tianba was afraid that the sword would affect Changyang Zhu Yunkong's cultivation, so he immediately flew over. However, he was stopped by a mysterious force that was formed by the sword as soon as he reached a kilometer away from Changyang Zhu Yunkong. He was unable to move beyond that point with his strength as a ninth heavenly layer saint ruler. Suddenly, a terrifying glow erupted from the sword. The light surged into the sky and illuminated the entire place, causing the world to light up. The glow enveloped Changyang Zhu Yunkong, but it did not harm him at all. Soon afterward, a wondrous ripple emerged from the sword and entered Changyang Zhu Yunkong's forehead. It seemed to be awakening memories that had been sealed long ago. Huang Tianba stood afar as he watched this unfold in wonder. He had no idea what was happening, but he knew very well that he could do nothing, whether the actions of the sword were beneficial or detrimental to Changyang Zhu Yunkong. Several hours later, Changyang Qing Yun and Changyang Zhu Shao arrived. They became stunned at first glance by the weird scene. Changyang Qing Yun roared out and flew toward the Emperor armament first. He used the secret technique at the same time in attempt to regain control over the Emperor armament. In the end, he too was stopped a kilometer away by a powerful and mysterious force, just like Huang Tianba. He was unable to get through it no matter what, and even his secret technique to control the Emperor armament became useless. What's happening? Just what is happening? Why is the Emperor armament behaving like this? Changyang Qing Yun questioned in a panic. The Emperor armament had existed within the Protector clan for countless years, but it had never exhibited behavior like this. It made Changyang Qing Yun feel uneasy inside. Changyang Zhu Shao silently hovered in the air far away. He only stared at the Emperor armament and Changyang Zhu Yunkong as his eyes shone with thought. None of them could find an explanation for the weird scene. Soon afterward, the other Saint Kings arrived as well. They all frowned. No one knew what had happened to the Emperor armament. Why would this happen? The Emperor armament has actually shot off by itself. Probably even Saint Kings at great perfection won't be able to stop it with its force, but why is Changyang Zhu Yunkong unaffected even though he's only just become a Saint King? This is just far too odd. Changyang Zhu Yunkong can actually remain unscathed by the power of the Emperor armament. Does this mean that the Emperor armament's power cannot harm him at all? The Saint Kings from the Yuan and Qing branches revealed their doubts. They all found this to be too odd. No one could explain what was going on. Let's all wait here for now. Once Changyang Zhu Yunkong rouses from his cultivation, we'll ask him what's going on, Changyang Qingjuri said with a heavy voice. Many people had a rather horrible feeling as to what was going to happen. A day later, the glow from the Emperor armament dispersed, and it became simple and ordinary again. However, its presence still remained. Not only had it failed to weaken, it was even stronger than before. Changyang Zhu Yunkong slowly opened his eyes. An almost tangible spark seemed to shoot from his eyes at that moment. The particular charm he gave off shocked all of them even more. It seemed like the charm that only a ruler who lorded over the world could possess. Huang Tianba and the Saint Kings all stared at Changyang Zhu Yunkong. At that moment, all of them felt the same thing. Changyang Zhu Yunkong seemed to be vastly different from before. With a wave of his hand, the Emperor armament above Changyang Zhu Yunkong's head immediately shrank to a 1.3-meter-long sword that obediently landed in his hand. It seemed like a docile little lamb. The eyes of the Saint Kings almost popped out from how wide-eyed they had become. The Emperor armament had always been described as powerful and violent in the Protector clan. It had never behaved in such a docile fashion. This docile behavior made the people from the Yuan and Qing branches feel even more uneasy. Changyang Zhu Yunkong, hurry up and return the emperor armament. Are you scheming to steal it from the Protector clan? Changyang Zhu Yunkong, hurry up and spit out everything you just experienced as well as why you can control the emperor armament so easily. Have you learned some secret technique that we don't know? Spit it out right now. The Saint Kings from the Yuan and Qing branches aggressively demanded answers. Changyang Zhu Yunkong smiled. He smiled very resplendently and held the emperor armament before his chest. He said, "This belonged to me in the first place, so why should I return it to you? Even if I hand it over, you probably don't have the power to accept it." How dare you, Changyang Zhu Yunkong? Are you trying to revolt? You will not be making it past today since you plan to steal the emperor armament of our Protector clan. Changyang Qin Yun exclaimed and immediately attacked Changyang Zhu Yunkong since he had sensed that the invisible barrier had vanished. Changyang Qin Yun was a saint king at great perfection. Even after becoming heavily injured, he was still powerful. He first used his abilities to freeze the space around Changyang Zhu Yunkong before hurling a palm forward. Tremendous amounts of saint force surged into his hand, almost enough to shatter the surrounding space. He clearly did not hold back. Changyang Zhu Shao and Changyang Zhu Yunshao revealed different expressions. Changyang Zhu Yunkong had only reached Saint King, so it was impossible for him to be Changyang Qin Yun's opponent. When they made a move to stop Changyang Qin Yun, they were stopped by the 4 other Saint Kings from the other 2 branches. Changyang Zhu Shao roared out and struck out with lightning-like speed. He knocked away his 2 opponents before immediately charging after Changyang Qin Yun. However, Changyang Qin Yun was already extremely close to Changyang Zhu Yunkong. It was too late for Changyang Zhu Shao to help out. Changyang Qin Yun, if you even dare to touch a single hair on Konger, I will never spare you, Changyang Zhu Shao furiously roared out. Changyang Qin Yun's lips curled into a sneer as he ignored what Changyang Zhu Shao had said. He pushed the energy gathered in his hand firmly and viciously toward Changyang Zhu Yunkong. Changyang Zhu Yunkong was as calm and steady as a mountain. He did not become flustered at all as mockery flashed through his eyes. Soon afterward, a terrifying energy, enough to make the surroundings tremble, erupted from the emperor armament. It immediately smashed through the frozen space. He swung the flat side of the sword at Changyang Qin Yun. Changyang Qin Yun's entire arm crumpled when it came in contact with the sword. It exploded with blood as his bones shattered before drooping down powerlessly. The emperor armament continued on without slowing down at all and struck Changyang Qin Yun in the chest. Spurt! Blood sprayed from Changyang Qin Yun's mouth as the great force hidden inside the attack shattered his organs. He shot off like a loose arrow. He could not resist the power at all. Everyone became stunned by this and Changyang Zhu Shao came to a halt. Even Changyang Zhu Yunshao and the other 2 Saint Kings stopped fighting as they looked at Changyang Zhu Yunkong in utter shock. How is this possible? Just how is this possible? He can actually control the emperor armament by himself and not suffer a backlash, Changyang Yuan Zhenghua said in shock as his heart churned. Changyang Zhu Yunkong, you actually dare to injure Great Elder Qin Yun. You are disrespecting his authority. Are you trying to rebel? Changyang Qin Juri sternly asked despite feeling the exact opposite inside. He was very fearful of Changyang Zhu Yunkong now. Changyang Zhu Yunkong warmly smiled and said, "You shouldn't call me Changyang Zhu Yunkong. From now on, my name is Yang Lai." Chapter 1323, Yang Lai, 3. Who cares if you're Changyang Zhu Yunkong or Yang Lai? The emperor armament in your hands is the ancestral weapon of our Protector clan regardless of all that. Although I don't know what secret technique you're using to control the emperor armament without suffering a backlash, you need to return the ancestral weapon to us no matter what, Changyang Qin Yunfeng said heavily. His face was extremely sunken. He had not treated Changyang Zhu Yunkong's breakthrough with any importance since he would only be at the first heavenly layer, but now that the ancestral weapon was in his hands, his strength was indescribable. Even Changyang Qin Yun, who was at great perfection, was not his opponent, having been injured without being able to resist at all. This caused the people of the Yuan and Qing branches to become flustered. However, Changyang Qing Yunfeng tried to recall where he had heard the name Yang Lai. For some reason, he felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had heard it somewhere before, but he could not recall where at the moment. Changyang Yuan Zhenghua's face slightly changed. His gaze toward Changyang Zhu Yunkong became extremely sharp as he cried out in a low voice, "Yang Lai is the founding ancestor of our Changyang clan. How dare you, Changyang Zhu Yunkong? How dare you use the name of our ancestor to do such treacherous things?" Immediately, everyone present became startled before coming to an understanding. Changyang Qing Yunfeng was not the only one who had sensed a feeling of familiarity from the name, but Changyang Zhu Xiao and the others also could not recall where they had heard the name before. Changyang Qing Juri laughed out of anger. "Okay. Good. Your Zhu branch really wants to revolt now. First you break free from the Protector clan. Now you want to blaspheme our founding ancestor, Yang Lai, while holding the ancestral weapon. People of the Zhu branch, do you really think that you can replace the Protector clan just because you have Jian Qin and a secret technique that can control the Emperor armament from who knows where? Your wild ambitions will never come true. We will definitely call on the world for this matter and get everyone to understand exactly what you, the people of the Zhu branch, have done. The Zhu branch is fated to be cursed by all the people of the world," Changyang Yuan Zhenghua yelled. He was extremely furious. The people of the Zhu branch were becoming bolder and more reckless. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yunxiao looked at each other and frowned. The development of the matter had completely exceeded anything they could have anticipated. They did not know what had happened to Changyang Zhu Yunkong. They felt like he had turned into a completely different person. Changyang Zhu Yunkong warmly smiled as he gently rubbed the Emperor armament. He said, "The founding ancestor you speak of is me. I was the one who founded the Changyang clan in the past and left my righteous Yang sword there. At the same time, I cast down the formation with the 18 divine halls and the origin formation so that the clan would never decline. You really have lived up to my hopes. After so many years, the Changyang clan has not declined at all. It is just as glorious as back then, except this generation is just far too greedy to have ended up fighting with one another just for a saint's fruit." Changyang Zhu Yunkong, the saint kings of the Yuan and Qing branches became utterly speechless from anger as they pointed at Changyang Zhu Yunkong. In terms of seniority, they had the right to be Changyang Zhu Yunkong's great-grandfather or even great-great-grandfather. Right now, the youngest descendant in their eyes was actually called himself the founding ancestor. That would mean that they, people who had lived for thousands of years, were his descendants of countless generations. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yunkong displayed rather ugly expressions, but they said nothing because they could clearly sense that Changyang Zhu Yunkong no longer seemed like the Changyang Zhu Yunkong of the past. Although he looked the same, his presence and charm were completely off. Changyang Zhu Yunkong had just reached Saint King, but he happened to give off an unfathomable feeling. Changyang Qin Yun slowly dragged his injured body over from afar. He said nothing, only staring at Changyang Zhu Yunkong in shock. Disbelief was plastered across his face. He understood that he had just been injured by the Emperor armament and not Changyang Zhu Yunkong himself. He struggled to believe that Changyang Zhu Yunkong could control the Emperor armament in such an easy fashion. Not only could he use its power at will, he did not suffer a backlash from it at all. A space gate ripped open and a middle-aged man in tight robes emerged. He carried a shiny silver blade. Strands of powerful energy would pulse from the blade from time to time, surprising the Saint Kings of the Changyang clan. The Saint Kings all looked at the man who had suddenly appeared. Their eyes all narrowed because they were unable to see through the man at all. The blade he carried in particular even made them violently jerk away. No matter how they looked at it, the blade seemed like the Emperor armament from the Tyrant's Blade School, except it had shrunken by a lot. The man was Gui Hai Yidao. He did not even look at the Saint Kings from the Changyang clan. His eyes were only fixated on Changyang Zhu Yunkong. He happily smiled and said, "Yang Lai, you finally returned." Yang Lai stared at Gui Hai Yidao for a while before a gleam of light flashed through his eyes, and he said, "Gehai Dao, I never thought that you would have awakened already, and you've even recovered your strength to the level of a Saint Emperor." The Saint Kings were immediately surprised by what they had just heard. They all stared at Gehai Dao with wide eyes while shock was plastered across their face. The middle-aged man before them was actually a Saint Emperor? They did not recognize him at all, nor did they know when the middle-aged man had become a Saint Emperor. The 9-colored rainbow clouds did not accompany his breakthrough. Gehai Dao laughed aloud. He was overjoyed after seeing an old friend. He said, "Yang Lai, I only came a few years earlier than you. The energy gathered in your righteous Yang sword is not lesser than my wave-breaking blade. If you use the energy in it to cultivate, you'll reach the peak of Saint Emperor very soon. However, returning to our level of cultivation will be rather difficult." "We're unable to reach the origin realm? Why not?" Yang Lai asked. Gehai Dao stopped smiling and became rather stern. He gently sighed. "Yang Lai, your clan doesn't seem to be very peaceful. Deal with that first. I'll wait for you in the Northern Sea." "Sir, may I ask who you are? Why have I never heard of an expert like you on the Tianyuan continent?" Changyang Qingjuri used this opportunity to ask Gehai Dao a question. If it was any other day, Gehai Dao would have never paid any attention to what his juniors asked him. However, an old friend of his had just returned today, so he was in an extremely good mood. He chuckled, "I founded the Tyrant's Blade School. I believe my disciples and grand disciples have told you about it already." With that, Gehai Dao directly departed through a space gate. The Saint Kings of the Changyang clan became stunned. Back when Mercenary City had asked to borrow the Tyrant's Blade School's Emperor armament, the great elders of the Tyrant's Blade School had mentioned that their founding ancestor had returned. Although the 5 great elders had still been trapped in their miniature world back then, they had overheard the news from the conversations of a few other Saint Kings. They all believed that it was just an excuse the Tyrant's Blade School had used to decline lending out their Emperor armament. None of them had thought that their ancestor had actually returned. It was unrealistic that someone who had been dead for 1,000,000 years could return. It was just unbelievable. Changyang Qin Yun, Changyang Qin Yunfeng, Changyang Qin Juri, Changyang Yuan Jinghua, and Changyang Yuan Wuji. The 5 of you turned on your own clansmen over a saint's fruit. Do you understand your crimes? Yang Lai looked at the 5 great elders as his tone gradually grew cold. A domineering aura appeared. Even Changyang Qin Yun and the others found it difficult to not heed his commands. Are you really the founding ancestor of our Changyang clan, Yang Lai? Changyang Qin Yun asked in shock. He could already vaguely sense the answer to his question. Their emperor armament came from their founding ancestor in the first place, and only the true owner of the weapon would be able to use it so easily. How can that be false? The righteous Yang sword in my hand is the best evidence there is. Back then, all of you thought I was dead, but the truth is different. Back then, the 9 other founders and I were all heavily injured. Our cultivation levels had fallen and our strength had decreased. Our souls had suffered from an unrecoverable injury. In the end, the 10 of us made up our minds to leave behind a legacy and seal our memories into the saint artifacts. We used a secret technique to cast our souls into samsara, undergoing countless rebirths as we slowly cured the wounds of our souls. It's just that I've only just recovered and returned, that's all, said Yang Lai. Chapter 1324. Returning to the Sea Realm. What Yang Lai said was like a story to the Saint Kings of the Changyang clan. How could such a method exist, where someone could seal their memories in their ancestral weapon and then cast their soul into samsara? At the very least, with what they knew, there were countless saint emperors that had appeared on the Tianyuan continent in the past, and there were many who had possessed injured souls as well. However, no one had accomplished what Yang Lai did, undergoing countless reincarnations before awakening and recovering his former memories. Do the 5 of you understand your crimes? Yang Lai continued to judge the 5 great elders. Not only did he recover his past memories, he had retained his current memories as well. Changyang Zuyunkong, do you really think that you can use this opportunity to pose as the founding ancestor by using some secret technique to control the emperor armament? Because if that's true, it's wishful thinking. Do you really think that you can trick us with a story you just made up? Do you think we're children? Changyang Qingyun cried out. He decided to not remain in the area any longer. He immediately turned around to flee. He traveled toward Mercenary City as quickly as possible. They had already started to believe the part about him being Yang Lai, but they refused to admit it because they had committed far too many mistakes already. The most severe one among them was sealing up Yang Lai's talent, preventing him from reaching sainthood for the rest of his life. He had almost lost his life because of that. "I'd like to see how you flee before me," Yang Lai coldly cried out. He was no longer as warm as before. His face became rather dark. If Changyang Qingyun had admitted to his mistakes out of his own accord, he might have ended up letting him go easily, but not only did he refuse to acknowledge them, he was committing even more mistakes. This angered Yang Lai. Swish! The righteous Yang sword shot out of Yang Lai's hands with a resplendent glow as it pursued Changyang Qingyun at the speed of lightning. It hovered above Changyang Qingyun's head before suddenly expanding, returning to its 30-meter-long size. Afterward, it viciously pushed down with a tremendous presence, sending Changyang Qingyun into the ground. Changyang Qingyun roared out. Powerful energy wildly surged from his body as he attempted to stop the righteous Yang sword. The sword was only 30 meters long at most, but it was even heavier than a mountain. Even with Changyang Qingyun's full strength, Saint King at great perfection, he was unable to stop it. Boom! Changyang Qingyun's hands forcefully dug into the ground and produced a heavy sound. He wanted to blast open the ground, carve out a tunnel, and flee through it. A tremendous and powerful energy leaked out of the righteous Yang sword, causing the ground to become as tough as steel. Changyang Qingyun's strike, which could easily destroy mountains on any other day, actually failed to penetrate the earth at this moment. Seeing how the righteous Yang sword had left Yang Lai's hands, the eyes of the 4 other saints kings from the Qing and Yuan branches immediately lit up. They looked at one another and attacked Yang Lai together. The 4 of them did not hold back at all, striking out with their full strength. They all swung their saint weapons at the weaponless Yang Lai. The saint weapons crisscrossed with one another and formed a huge, invisible net around him, cutting off any path of escape. They then froze the space around him, limiting his movements. Yang Lai was immobilized by the surrounding space, but he did not become flustered at all. His lips curled like he had just heard a joke, and with a flash of light through his eyes, 4 powerful sword qis erupted from the sword that constrained Changyang Qingyun in the distance. They shot toward the 4 saint kings. The 4 sword qis were shockingly powerful. Every single one of them was 2 meters long and radiated with a dazzling light. Wherever they passed, space would rip open, leaving behind 4 long, black gashes. Spurt! 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 The 4 sword qi instantly arrived before the 4 saint kings. The 4 of them were unable to dodge the sword qis as they pierced through their chests. The 4 saint kings all spat out a mouthful of blood. They were heavily injured. The 4 sword qis had originated from the righteous Yang sword, so their power was incomparable to ordinary attacks. Even though they did not deal life-threatening damage to them, they had caused them unimaginable injuries, basically incapacitating them. You really are getting bolder and bolder to attack me after learning my identity. If it weren't for the fact that you are direct descendants of the Changyang clan, I would have taken your lives long ago, Yang Lai said with a sunken face. The Saint Kings became afraid. They could already tell that their junior, who claimed to be their founding ancestor and had only just reached Saint King, was at a level they could not resist, even if they were all at great perfection. This was because the Emperor armament was just far too powerful. They believed that he could use all the energy hidden within the weapon. With a wave of his hand, Yang Lai summoned the sword back. However, Changyang Qingyun did not dare to run anymore. The 5 of you return and think about your actions and make up for the mistakes you made in the past. If it weren't for the fact that the Tianyuan continent is currently facing disaster and is in need of people, why would I be letting you off so easily? Yang Lai coldly said to the 5 of them. Afterward, he looked at Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. He could not help but become filled with mixed emotions. After a moment of silence, he said, "During the period I'm gone, you can deal with the matters in the clan. After I return, I will give you origin energy and will do my best to make you Saint Emperors." With that, Yang Lai ripped open a space gate and left. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yunxiao stood there speechless. At that moment, they were strewn between all sorts of feelings and had no idea how to describe them. The return of their founding ancestor was something that they should have been happy about, but they did not feel happy at all. The 5 other Saint Kings all left in a disheveled manner. They dragged their bodies toward Mercenary City. They wanted to use the Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters there to heal. However, the 5 of them were not calm. Their founding ancestor had returned, which had greatly shocked them. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yunxiao returned to the Changyang clan in Lore City and explained everything that had happened to Changyang Zhu Yun. She immediately became stunned after learning that her child was the incarnation of their founding ancestor. She was strewn with emotions while her face reflected her bitter thoughts. "I never thought that Changyang Zhu Yunkong would actually be the incarnation of founding ancestor of the Changyang clan. This is just far too shocking." Huang Tianba was speechless as he watched everything unfold on a mountain peak. He then returned to seclusion to undergo his final breakthrough. Back in the Sea Realm, Jian Chen and Tai Ta successfully emerged from the Xianhuang microcosm and returned. They appeared in the huge whirlpool of energy. The worldly ebb lasted for only half a year and was almost over, so the energy had already thinned. It was nowhere near as abundant as before. "Fantastic, you finally come out. I had thought an accident had happened." The sea goddess' joyful voice rang out as soon as the 2 of them emerged. They saw the sea goddess' illusionary figure floating before them. She was extremely excited. "Esteemed sea goddess, fortunately I've succeeded and collected all the materials to reconstruct your body." Jianchen clasped his hands at the sea gods with a smile before pulling out the 2 materials for the sea goddess to see. The sea goddess could not help but tremble. She said, Good. Jianchen, I really haven't misjudged you. You've really completed the task I gave you. This is fantastic. This just fantastic." The sea goddess could not calm down for quite some time now that there was a hope of being revived. This was because she had looked forward for this day for far too long. Chapter 1325. The Tao family's clamor. "Your Majesty, may I ask how I can give you these items?" Jianchen asked. The sea goddess was only a soul right now, so she could not take things with her. The sea goddess calmed down after hearing the question. She said, "Jianchen, first go find the hall master of the sea goddess hall, Yadrium. She has an abyssal crystal with her. The crystal only appears in the Sea of Despair, and she is in possession of the only piece that has made it out. You can find my divine hall in the Sea of Despair through the use of the crystal." The sea goddess vanished after explaining some things to Jianchen. She had left already. Jianchen looked around. He and Tai Ta were currently located in the depths of the whirlpool. If it was as before, it would have been impossible for the 2 of them to stand there so easily, but now that their strength had skyrocketed in the Xianhuang microcosm and with the weakening energy, they obviously were no longer affected as much as before. Jianchen stared at the energy that was gradually decreasing in the surroundings. If the Xianhuang microcosm had not appeared, he would have stayed here to cultivate some more. However, he had already reached the 4th layer of the chaotic body in the Xianhuang microcosm, so the amount of energy he needed to reach the 5th layer had increased yet again. The energy of the whirlpool no longer seemed very important to Jianchen. Newbies and the white tiger were still cultivating within the artifact space. They had ingested the various heavenly resources Jianchen had gathered in the Xianhuang microcosm, including the tea made from the comprehension tea leaves. As a result, their strength surged at an extremely great rate during this period of time. Their cultivation was smooth sailing, and the white tiger had formally reached Class 8, becoming a Saint King. However, since he broke through in the Saint artifact, no rainbow clouds formed. Although Newbie's strength didn't increase as quickly at the winged tiger god, he had still reached the 5th heavenly layer, and he was rapidly advancing toward the 6th. Once he did reach the 6th, he would even be able to fight against 8 heavenly layer Saint Kings with his modified Saint Tier battle skill. Even against the 9th heavenly layer, he would able to clash a few times using the Saint Tier battle skill. Jian Chen and Tai Ta left the area and made their way to the Sea Goddess Hall to complete the Sea Goddess request. At the same time, Yadrium, who was hovering in the sky above the ruins of Mercenary City, suddenly said to the people around her, "Everyone, I must return to the Sea Realm for some matters, so I will leave behind the elders of the Sea Goddess Hall. If anything happens, I will hurry back as quickly as possible." With that, Yadrium left in a hurry after handing over a few matters to the experts that had come with her. She returned to the Sea Realm as quickly as possible. 2 days later, Jian Chen and Tai Ta arrived at the central divine hall of the Sea Goddess Hall. They met the hall master in a room. Although Yadrium was not enveloped by a layer of blue light right now, making her figure distinct, her face remained blurry. It seemed to be obscured by a layer of mist. "Very good, Jian Chen. You really haven't let Her Majesty down by successfully bringing back what she needs. However, the Sea of Despair is no safe place. Even emperors can die there, so I need to make sufficient preparations before we go there. We will leave in 3 days, Yadrium said to Jian Chen. She had learned everything from the Sea Goddess while she had made her way back. All right, then I will return in 3 days, Hallmaster, Jian Chen said before heading to the territory of the Turtle Clan. He did not stay. It had been half a year since he had been to the Turtle Clan, so he used the opportunity to go back and have a look. He could gain an understanding of the current situation of the Turtle Clan as well as deal with the enmity that had been formed with the Tao family. Back then, Jian Chen was helpless due to the divine hall in the Tao family's possession, but now, both Jian Chen and Tai Ta were no weaker than Saint Emperors. The divine hall of the Tao family was basically non-existent to them. However, there was not a single clansman of the Turtle Clan seen in their territory. Though, a huge divine hall stood in the center. It was still covered with unhealed cracks, but that did not affect its awe at all. It was the Octaterra Divine Hall that Jian Chen had left behind. It was currently being used, and all the clansmen of the Turtle Clan gathered inside. No one came out. Another huge divine hall stood several kilometers away from the Octaterra Divine Hall. It was the divine hall in the hands of Tao Jingtian. Tao Jingtian and the Saint Kings that had allianced themselves with him sat on top of the divine hall. They all sneered at the Octaterra Divine Hall. It had already been several days since they had come. They had fearlessly blocked the main entrance of the Turtle Clan. "Come out, ruler of the Turtle Clan. Today, my Tao family will completely finish what we started with you." Tao Jingtian taunted the Turtle Clan as he sat on the top of the Divine Hall. "Ruler of the Turtle Clan, what are you scared? You won't even come out after we've blocked your main entrance. All you know is how to hide in the Divine Hall. Do you plan on hiding for the rest of your life? Ruler of the Turtle Clan, your clan is still a large one in the end. It's one of the peak powers in the Sea Realm, yet you've become cowards right now. If this makes it out, you'll take quite the hit to the name of the Turtle Clan. Jian Chen, hurry up and come out to die." "How long are you going to hide in the Divine Hall? Ha! I never thought that the ruler of the Turtle Clan, famed in the Sea Realm, was someone who feared death." The 5 Saint Kings of the Alliance constantly raised a clamor. They showed no fear, as if victory was in their grasp. They did not dread the Turtle Clan at all and would even send powerful attacks at the Octaterra Divine Hall from time to time, causing it to rumble. Although the attacks failed to even mark the Divine Hall, it annoyed the clansmen hiding inside very much. Within the Divine Hall, Qin Yishuan, Tai Do, Lan Jing, Exin Pian, and Mokas had all paled from anger. They were tempted to immediately charge out to engage in a battle to the death with the Saint Kings of the Tao family. "We have to endure their mockery and not act recklessly. We have the same amount of 16th-star experts, but Tao Jingtian is just far too powerful. He can take on 2 or 3 of us all by himself while the ancestor of the Mashi clan is stronger than any one of us. If we really end up fighting, we'll lose for sure. At the same time, they definitely have something they can count on since they are flaunting themselves in such a fearless manner. So we can't go out no matter what," Lan Jing growled. This Tao family is only bold enough to raise a clamor when the ruler isn't present. If the ruler was present, I'd like to see if Tao Jingtian would be brave enough to do the same time, Tai Do fumed. He was quite furious. Qin Yishuan's face had sunken. She said through gritted teeth, "Where the bloody hell has Jianchen gone? Isn't he taking it a little too easy as the ruler of the Turtle Clan? Always going missing, he even disappears for several months on end. It's almost impossible to contact him. He always throws such a huge mess at us to deal with. Look at it now. We have so many people, yet we've been frightened into the Divine Hall by the Tao family, and all we can do is stay here. We have to endure their insults as well. This sure is the first time I've been forced to go through something like this." Chapter 1326. Return. Every single person hiding within the Divine Hall was fuming. They were furious, yet there was nothing they could do to vent their anger. They were completely helpless due to the current situation. They were not the opponents of the Tao family's Saint Kings, and if they acted too recklessly, it would be extremely easy for them to die. I wonder when the ruler will return. If the ruler returns, he'll definitely make the Tao family pay, said an elder of the Turtle Clan. He felt admiration from the bottom of his heart for Jianchen, because he would never forget that the declining clan had only powered up so quickly under Jianchen's leadership. The reason why the clan possessed 5 16-star experts right now was all because of Jianchen. It had nothing to do with the clan itself. Qin Yishuan raised an eyebrow and disdainfully pouted. She sneered, "Tao Jingtian has a divine hall. It's not like you don't know how tough divine halls are. Those that are not saint emperors cannot smash through them. I must admit that Jianchen's talent is extremely impressive and that he's extremely powerful. However, he still can't do anything to Tao Jingtian since he has a divine hall. Even if he takes on Tao Jingtian himself, he's not his opponent. Under these circumstances, he'll be useless even if he returns. We believe in the ruler. The ruler is wise. He's our only hope. As long as the ruler is present, our clan will be able to take on any problem head-on." A clansman clearly heard Qin Yishuan talk about Jianchen from nearby and immediately stood up before righteously roaring out. He was extremely protective over the ruler. "Yeah, that's right. Our ruler is powerful. He's wise. Right now, our clan has only become like this because the ruler is not present. If the ruler was present, I believe our clan would be able to deal with any problem under his wise leadership. Isn't everything happening today explaining everything even clearer? We cannot be without the ruler. Only when the ruler is with us can we become extremely powerful. Without the ruler, we are nothing." More and more people spoke. They were extremely protective of Jianchen and rebuked Qin Yishuan. They all possessed blind devotion to the ruler. Even their minds and beliefs were unconsciously affected by Jianchen. Seeing the mad devotion within the eyes of the clansmen, Qin Yishuan rubbed her head in pain. She shook her head helplessly and murmured, "You're helpless. I really don't understand how Jianchen's convinced so many people with how long he's stayed in the clan." Outside, Tao Jingtian and the other Saint Kings continued spewing provocations. They virtually used everything to try to force out the ruler, but after several days of hard work, they had not caught even a single glimpse of Jianchen. Meanwhile, Tao Jingtian and the others could not help but begin doubting themselves. They had already guessed that it was extremely likely that Jianchen was not present, or he was in secluded cultivation. "Let's remain here. Even if the ruler of the Turtle Clan isn't here, he probably received a message from someone long ago. He'll probably return soon." Tao Jingtian sat on the top of the Divine Hall at ease. He stared at the Octaterra Divine Hall with half-squinted eyes. He was extremely confident. At this moment, the whistling of air rang out. 2 figures quickly shot over from the distance. To the Saint Kings, the 2 figures' grasp over space was not very profound, but their speed was stunning because it was not slower than Saint Kings. Even some 16-star experts could not travel as fast as them. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them stopped between the 2 divine halls. Their faces were finally visible at that moment. One of them was a young man who seemed to be in his 20s. He wore white robes and was handsome, filled with masculinity. His eyes were sharp like swords, and staring into his eyes would make the observer's own eyeballs hurt. The other person was an extremely burly man. His skin was golden and glowed with a faint, metallic luster. He seemed to be made of gold, and the most eye-catching part of him was the center of his brows. There was actually the imprint of an axe there. It's the ruler of the Turtle Clan. The rulers returned. A Saint King from the Alliance saw them and immediately cried out. The two of them just happened to be Jianchen and Taita. Tao Jingtian's eyes began to glare at them at that moment. He stared at them in interest as he sneered, "Ruler of the Turtle Clan, you finally returned. I've waited for you for several days already." Jianchen stared at Tao Jingtian and the others who were blocking the main entrance of the Turtle Clan with a sunken face. He then glanced over at the Turtle Clan. He immediately let out a breath of relief. Although the Turtle Clan had been reduced to a mess, there were no corpses or bloody marks. All of them had hidden in the Octaterra Divine Hall. Jianchen's face became filled with heavy killing intent at that moment. He had never thought that Tao Jingtian would come and block the main entrance of the clan before he could even find him to settle their debt. If he had not left behind the Divine Hall, the entire clan would probably have been rinsed in blood. "Tao Jingtian, I was just about to go to your Tao family to completely settle our enmity. I never thought that you'd be so smart and obediently come to meet your maker," Jianchen growled. Tao Jingtian chuckled aloud. "Ruler of the Turtle Clan, you overestimate yourself. I'm standing right here. I'd like to see how you kill me." He was confident. He was currently at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer as a Saint King and infinitesimally close to the 9th. He had gained a clear understanding of Jianchen's strength in the battle before, which was not enough to threaten him at all. Jianchen sneered, "Then I'll show you I can kill you right here." Suddenly, a vast presence surged from Jianchen. It crushed down on Tao Jingtian with an unstoppable force. Tao Jingtian and the 4 other Saint Kings suddenly displayed different expressions. Jianchen's presence was just far too powerful. Even Tao Jingtian, a peak 8th heavenly layer Saint King, shivered inside. At that moment, he even gained the impression that he was standing before a Saint Emperor. The 5 of them were no longer as composed as before. They all stood up in shock while disbelief plastered across their faces. Their hearts churned inside. "Ruler of the Turtle Clan, I've treated you with a lot of caution, but I've still underestimated you in the end. I never would have thought that your strength would have reached such a level in such a short amount of time. You're no weaker than me. However, just that much strength is still wishful thinking if you want to kill me. If you don't believe me, we can fight it out somewhere else." Tao Jingtian no longer remained where he was after throwing that out. He immediately flew off into the distance with the Divine Hall, traveling extremely fast. He disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. The 4 other Saint Kings had entered the Divine Hall as quickly as they could, so Tao Jingtian had taken them with him. "Ruler of the Turtle Clan, if you have the guts, then come." Tao Jingtian's voice loudly rang out from afar. Jianchen moved. He used the illusory flash, causing his body to fuse with the surrounding space. He chased after Tao Jingtian extremely quickly at a speed no slower than him. Jianchen's understanding of the illusory flash had reached a new level in the Xianhuang microcosm. Coupled with his increase in strength, the speed he traveled when using the illusory flash had increased as well. Mysteries of war, celestial movement. Taita turned into a streak of golden light as he tailed behind Jianchen. Chapter 1327. Setting foot in the Serpent God Hall, Jianchen and Taita pursued Tao Jingtian. Meanwhile, the main entrance of the Octaterra Divine Hall in the territory of the Turtle Clan opened up. With the Saint Kings leading them, a large number of clansmen poured out. "It's the ruler. The ruler's returned. Fantastic, this is just fantastic. Did you see?" Once the ruler returned, even Tao Jingtian was scared into fleeing in such a horrendous manner. He dares not face the ruler head-on because he fears death. Long live the ruler! "The ruler is invincible," the group of clansmen said in high spirits. The respect and admiration they felt for the ruler had already reached an unbelievable level. The paleness of the 5 Saint Kings finally eased a bit after holding in their anger for so long. Now that Jian Chen and his powerful friend had returned, they finally possessed the power to deal with the Tao family. They did not need to hide within the divine hall and be verbally abused any longer. The 5 of them stared in the direction Jian Chen had traveled off in an interest. They all frowned. Tao Jingtian has been causing a great disturbance, saying he will fight and kill Jian Chen constantly, but now that he has returned, why has he fled without even fighting? Even if they're worried that they're no longer our opponents, they still have a divine hall. As long as they hide within the divine hall, we won't be able to do anything to them. There's no need for them to flee so quickly, Mokas said in doubt. The others nodded as well. They all felt that Tao Jingtian's actions were extremely suspicious. I know. Tao Jingtian's objective is probably to draw Jian Chen away. He's probably already set up some trap for Jian Chen, Qing Yishuan said with a heavy voice. Her complexion had become very ugly. She had already severely offended the Tao family by participating in the battle against them with the Turtle Clan, so if Jian Chen died, she could no longer stay in the Sea Realm. Suddenly, Qing Yishuan turned to the clansmen behind her. She said, "Everyone enter the divine hall. Tao Jingtian's probably set up a trap for Jian Chen. We need to go save him with the divine hall to prevent any accidents." The clansmen all revealed different expressions and entered the divine hall as quickly as possible. Afterward, Qing Yishuan chased after Jian Chen with Lan Jing, Xen Pian, Mokas, and Tao Dou along with the divine hall. Tao Jingtian wildly fled as he carried the divine hall. At this moment, his heart violently surged. He was nowhere near calm. He had been frightened by the tremendous presence Jian Chen had released. Just from Jian Chen's presence, he had deduced that Jian Chen was no weaker than him, possibly even much more powerful, because even he shivered before Jian Chen's presence. Other than that, Tao Jingtian could sense that Jian Chen's golden skin companion was very strong as well, no weaker than himself either. God damn it. It's only been so long. How has the ruler of the Turtle Clan's strength increased by so much? Tao Jingtian bitterly grumbled inside. The rate at which the ruler of the Turtle Clan was growing had completely exceeded anything he had anticipated. Behind, Jian Chen and Tai Ta tailed him. One of them was reduced to a blur and seemed to fuse with the surrounding space to blink across a very great distance, while the other shone with a dazzling golden light as he shot through the sky like a comet. The 2 of them were slightly faster than Tao Jingtian, so they gradually moved closer. Very soon, they arrived over 100,000 kilometers from the territory of the Turtle Clan. They had crossed the territories of many large clans and caused a very large disturbance along the way. Tao Jingtian, this place is far enough away. I'll make this region of desolate mountains your grave, Jian Chen suddenly yelled out when they arrived at a mountain range. He pushed the illusory flash to the limits of his understanding and his speed skyrocketed. In just a few seconds, he caught up with Tao Jingtian and condensed a sword in his hand with his chaotic force. He stabbed out, "How can he be so fast?" Tao Jingtian was shocked, but he did not respond slowly either. With a boom, a tremendous amount of energy erupted from within him, condensing into a layer of armor in the blink of an eye. A trident appeared in his hand as well as he stabbed out as hard as he could. Boom! Tao Jingtian's trident clashed with Jian Chen's sword and immediately produced a terrifying ripple of energy. It caused the mountains below to collapse. They were reduced to a mess. Tao Jingtian's face changed. With a grunt, he shot back like a broken kite. The trident in his hand dimmed while the armor on him had almost shattered. The sword in Jian Chen's hand remained just as powerful as before, without weakening at all. His gaze was cold, and he said, "Tao Jing, your strength remains where it was before. You have not improved at all in the past half a year, so killing me with just that much is wishful thinking." "Why you?" Tao Jingtian was both shocked and enraged. He pointed at Jian Chen in a speechless manner before roaring out, "Just what has happened in the past half a year? Why has your strength increased by so much?" From just that single clash, Tao Jingtian had become filled with fear. He had discovered, out of shock, that after half a year, he was not the ruler of the Turtle Clan's opponent at all. This matter was shocking and unbelievable. Tao Jingtian did not expect Jianchen to answer his question at all. He turned around and flew into his divine hall, controlling it as he fled. He pushed its speed to the limits as he attempted to reach the territory of the Serpent God Hall as quickly as possible. Jianchen sneered as he chased behind with Tai Ta. It was impossible for him to not see through Tao Jingtian's scheme since Tao Jingtian had come in such a bold manner to block the main entrance of the Turtle Clan, even though Tao Jingtian knew he could not do anything to them, but he had still purposefully angered them in attempt to draw him out. However, Jianchen was extremely confident after returning from the Xianhuang microcosm. He was not afraid no matter what Tao Jingtian was counting on. So the Serpent God Hall is supporting him. Very soon, Jianchen understood Tao Jingtian's intentions from the direction he fled. Jianchen immediately revealed a mysterious smile. "I'll try you this time, Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall. I'd like to see just how powerful Saint Emperors are compared to the Class 9 Xianhuang beasts," Jianchen thought. Now that he had reached the fourth layer of the chaotic body and reached the sword origin realm in terms of comprehension, his strength had increased a bunch. Even without forging the azulate swords, he was somewhat confident that he could deal with Saint Emperors. Even if he could not defeat them, he was able to flee with his current strength. Jianchen was not in a hurry to smash Tao Jingtian's divine hall. Instead, he concealed his strength and followed along, continuing to travel toward the territory of the Serpent God Hall. The pursuit lasted for 2 whole days before Jianchen finally entered the territory of the Serpent God Hall. The moment Jianchen stepped over the boundary, Tao Jingtian almost began to tear up in joy. He was tempted to roar at the sky. "Ah, Jianchen, your end is here. So what about how great your talent is or how unprecedented you are? You're still going to meet your end today." Tao Jingtian laughed out loud. His greatest enemy was finally going to fall before him, so he felt indescribable joy. A supreme energy flowed through the surroundings and behind Jianchen. An extremely powerful energy sealed up the boundary to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall, cutting off Jianchen's path of escape. Chapter 1328. Fighting as Saint Emperor. Jianchen smiled sarcastically. He glanced back at the boundary behind him and calmly said, "Tao Jingtian, aren't you celebrating a little too early? It's still rather difficult to determine today's outcome." Tao Jingtian stopped and did not continue running. However, he remained hidden within the divine hall. He believed that Jianchen could do nothing to him no matter what, causing him to chuckle out loud. "Jianchen, you're overconfident. Do you really think that you can act as you wish just because your strength has abruptly increased? I admit that I am no longer your opponent, but in this vast sea realm, who knows how many people are more powerful than me? Obviously, there are quite a few experts that can kill you. As of now, you are at the gates of death. No one can save you." As soon as Tao Jingtian finished speaking, the energy of the world in the surroundings suddenly became violent as if it had been listening to his speech. A supreme force filled the surroundings. It became more and more powerful and denser, causing the air to shake. Vaguely enough, it seemed to let out the deep, angry growl of a serpent dragon. But Jianchen ignored everything, as if he could not sense the changes occurring around him at all. Only Tai Ta, who stood beside him, stared at the sky in interest. He was tempted to take it on. His eyes were brimming with powerful battle intent. The war god's blood within him boiled as his body shone with a dazzling golden light. "What happens to me is not for you to decide. However, this barrier has already determined that you will die today for sure, Tao Jingtian," Jianchen sneered. Tao Jingtian chuckled because of his rage and bellowed, "Jianchen, your arrogance and ignorance has surpassed everything I was expecting from you. I'm right here, so if you have the power, come and take my life. If you can't do that today, I'll fill your turtle clan with corpses and make them bleed so much that their blood will form rivers." Heavy killing intent appeared in Jianchen's eyes. He coldly said, "Tao Jing, you will never get that chance. Even if the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall is protecting you, I will kill you. No one can save you." With that, the powerful force around Jianchen immediately became even more violent. Endless amounts of energy of the world gathered from the surroundings before condensing into a figure in the blink of an eye. The figure was a wide-chested, burly, middle-aged man. His face was blurry and obscured. As he stood there, he gave off an extremely powerful presence, like a monarch ruling the world. Esteemed Hall Master, please kill Jian Qin and eliminate any future threats. Tao Jingtian also discovered the figure completely condensed from energy in the sky while he remained in the divine hall, so he immediately made a request in excitement. It was a clone condensed by the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall by controlling the energy of the world using his mind. The Hall Master did not need to act personally to deal with Jianqin since he was not even at the great perfection of Saint King. To the Hall Master, just a clone would be enough to deal with any opponents below Saint Emperor because he was a Saint Emperor, and one that had been a Saint Emperor for many years. He had made a corresponding amount of progress in the realm of cultivation as well. Ruler of the Turtle Clan, I like to see how you kill people before me, said the clone of the Hall Master. His voice was loud and clear, booming out like rolling thunder, like a serpent dragon's roar. Afterward, he pointed his finger at Jianqin. It elongated and thickened into a pillar of energy as it shot toward Jianqin. The energy in the surroundings constantly surged into his finger, making the pillar more and more powerful. The great force of a Saint Emperor was hidden inside the attack. Jianqin showed no fear. He taunted, Hall Master, just a clone of yours does not possess the ability to stop me. It's better if you come personally. Suddenly, Jianqin's presence underwent a great change. Like a drawn sword, he glowed brighter. He had already reached sword origin, so his entire body seemed to have transformed into a sharp sword. He then collided with the energy the Hall Master had shot over with an unstoppable force. An extremely bright white light appeared around him, wrapping around him while giving off surging sword chi. The sword chi caught the Hall Master's clone by surprise. It was just far too powerful and far too abnormal. He had lived for countless years and read many secret records, so he was extremely knowledgeable, but he had never seen such sharp sword chi. The sword chi Jianqin used after reaching sword origin was no longer condensed from energy after comprehending the way of the sword. Instead, it was a method to use laws. The clone's attack failed to harm Jianqin at all. Jianqin swiftly broke through the energy attack like a sword, having approached the Hall Master. Sword chi condensed in his hand as he stabbed at the clone's head. A sliver of the Hall Master's soul was there, so once that sliver was wiped out, the energy used to condense the clone would disperse. The Hall Master was unable to remain as calm as before. His facial expression greatly changed as a hint of disbelief appeared in his eyes. He had never thought that Jianqin would have become so powerful already. The Hall Master reacted extremely quickly despite his shock. During a crucial moment, he retreated to several hundred meters away as if he had teleported, avoiding Jianqin's fatal attack. Although he was just a clone, if the soul hidden within the clone was destroyed, he would still suffer an unimaginable injury. Even to Saint Emperors, injuries of the soul would still be fatal. They were the most difficult to recover from. Jianqin seemed to have expected the clone of the Hall Master to flee long ago, so he immediately used Illusory Flash. He left behind a trail of blurs as he chased after the Hall Master like he was teleporting as well. With a white flash, the powerful sword chi in his hand stabbed into the clone's head. This time, the Hall Master's clone failed to dodge in time. His head was pierced and most of his soul was immediately obliterated. Only a small fragment was left to flee into the distance. Jianqin extended a finger and shot a sword chi a finger wide at the fragment of the soul, finishing it off as well. At the same time, a miserable cry rang through the central divine hall within the territory of the Serpent God Hall. Closely following it was a tremendous presence that radiated out of the divine hall, like a slumbering primordial beast had awakened. It shook the entire divine hall. A figure quickly charged out of the divine hall, storming off into the distance with a supreme presence. It vanished in a single moment, moving extremely fast. It's the esteemed Hall Master. The Hall Master has never appeared personally over the past few hundred years. He's always been in seclusion. That miserable cry seems to have come from the Hall Master. What's happened to the great Hall Master? Has something gone wrong with his cultivation? Just what has happened to the Hall Master? Why has he left in such a rage with such powerful killing intent? Has someone angered him? The various elders and emissaries discussed the situation within the Divine Hall. They felt utterly confused and puzzled. Even the few esteemed Hall elders did not have an answer. Impossible. Tao Jingtian and the 4 other Saint Kings of the Alliance personally witnessed this exchange. All of them became stunned. They were filled with disbelief. A clone of the Hall Master had actually been slain in such an easy fashion. This was an extremely terrifying matter to them. After all, the Hall Master was a Saint Emperor, a being who possessed supreme strength. Not to mention the fact that the Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall was quite accomplished as a Saint Emperor. Just a clone of his was enough to easily slay Saint Kings at great perfection. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.